चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Okay, some few points from yesterday.
Prabhuji, you are telling about like if you want to enter into fire, then you have to be fiery. Similarly, if you want to go to God, then we have to be pure like he is pure.
Correct.
Hare Krishna.
Good.
Prabhuji, you said that the main cause of suffering is due to offenses of the devotees, and the aprad, Vaishnava aprad, its effect can be up to the stage of prema.
Okay, good.
We are discussing about the process of hearing. So how hearing comprises of nama, charita, gunadi, sravana. Basically these three things. And one analogy is given in Garud Purana, how a man who is bitten by snake can be revived through some mantra. Similarly, we are also bitten by Maya, living entities. So they can also be awakened by the hearing the transcendental vibrations from the scriptures. And in that context, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Sthane sthita sruti gata tanubang manovi. Whichever position you are in, you can remain but give submissive oral reception to the topics of about the Supreme Lord.
Thank you.
Krishna Prabhuji, devotees always be in association of, one should be always in association of devotees because to remind him the philosophy when he is in critical condition. Example, when doctor is sick, he should go to another doctor.
Right. Okay, so association very important. Okay, Shukla.
We saw how we can perform devotional service in meditation also. So there are many pastimes. One was famous pastime of Pratishtanpur Brahmin. Then we discussed the pastime of Narsimanand Brahmachari, who paved the path for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu relished that path in which was paved by Narsimanand Brahmachari. So one can worship Lord as per his means.
Right. So that story is in regards to which anga of bhakti?
Smaranam.
Dhyanam. So what is the difference between smaranam and dhyanam?
Smaranam is remembrance is basically yana kena prakaran, is somehow or other put in the mind, but meditation, dhyana is called skillful contemplation or absorption.
Absorption. Okay.
Guruji, you mentioned for that requires sattva.
Hearing aspect, Prabhuji, you were telling that when one is purified, then the symptom of purification is he is satisfied, and he renders services, and he never leaves the lotus feet of Lord.
Yes. Krishna pada moolam na munchati.
Guruji, in expecting Lord's mercy, you are saying that the devotee should not expect immediate relief from suffering. It will lead to a frustration. And rather, one should expect trouble at every moment. And if it is not there, then one should be grateful. Happiness and distress, both are given by the Lord to a sadhaka.
Good. Okay, Shuklam.
Discussed about dasyam also. So in dasyam there were two types, categories basically, karmarpanam and kainkaryam. In karmarpanam again we had offering of prescribed duties in varna and ashram. And secondly it was offering of services through Navvidha Bhakti. So basically what our Acharya say regarding this varnashram part was, it's not compared to completely in the form of bhakti, but it's somewhat like means Bhagavad Arpit Nishkam Karma Yoga.
Gauna dharma.
Gauna, yes. That's what, and while the difference between Kainkaryam and Navvidha Bhakti, that Dasya which is there, it's the difference of attitude. Like in Kainkarya, one acts in the mood of attendant of Lord, personal attendant of Lord.
Okay, good. Next. Same point. Okay, good.
Inside serving the devotee, so we can serve the devotee like Sajatiya and Snigdha and Guhya Makhyati, like that you told. So
Svatobare.
Satovare. So
Svato.
Sajatiya means the same nature, the same mood like advancing in spiritual life, same type of seva it can be. And Snigdha, who is smoothly, it's affectionate.
Affection.
And then only like you said about Dadati Pratignanati, that first and last, third part is make that second part to properly happen.
Correct.
Satovara should be a little bit senior in some part at least, what is explained.
Good. Okay, so we discussed Panchang Bhakti. All the 5 items we discussed. Okay, so we'll go ahead now. Chapter 14, Devotional Qualifications. So please read the first 2 paragraphs.
Some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service, but actually that is not a fact. Actually, the cultivation of knowledge or renunciation, which are favorable for achieving a footing in Krishna consciousness, may be accepted in the beginning, but ultimately they may also come to be rejected. For devotional service is dependent on nothing other than the sentiment or desire for such service. It requires nothing more than sincerity. It is the opinion of expert devotees that mental speculation and the artificial austerities of yoga practice may be favorable for becoming liberated from material contamination, but they will also make one's heart harder and harder. They will not help at all in the progress of devotional service. These processes are therefore not favorable for entering into the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Actually, Krishna consciousness devotional service itself is the only way of advancing in devotional life. Devotional service is absolute. It is both the cause and the effect. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause and effect of all that be, and to approach Him, the absolute process of devotional service, which is also absolute, has to be adopted.
Okay, so these are devotional qualifications. So what are the qualifications to practice bhakti? So Srila Prabhupada is writing here, devotional service is dependent on nothing other than the sentiment or desire for such service. It requires nothing more than sincerity. That is the only thing that's true. So the only qualification to practice bhakti is the sincere desire to serve. If one has the desire, finished. What else is required? If the desire is there, then some action will come. If desire is only not there, then what action? So therefore, the main thing is the desire. And practically that's the only thing which the jiva has. There's nothing else which the jiva can do. The only thing the jiva can do is desire. We discussed in Bhagavad Gita also. And on the base of desire, everything else follows. So therefore, having the right desire is very important. Okay. Now the next question is, so somebody may say that Jnana and Vairagya are required for bhakti. So he is asking, why are the processes of Jnana and Vairagya unfavorable to devotional service? Huh? So, okay, go ahead. Okay, read.
Jnana and Vairagya may be detrimental to the cultivation of devotion. Srila Rupa Goswami wants that Jnana and Vairagya can make the heart hard. A material attached person has many emotions that impel him towards sense gratification. Vairagya involves making the heart callous and indifferent to these emotions so that one will not be moved by them. Bhakti, though means to please the Lord by one's love for Him, to express such love requires a soft heart, easily moved by Lord's names, form, qualities, and activities. Gyan and Vairagya are not favorable to devotional service because they result in a hard, stoic heart.
So now this, which type of Jnana and Vairagya is discussed here?
This Gyan, which
Impersonal
without
Gyan,
any bhakti,
Vairagya,
mental speculation.
So this is impersonal Jnana without bhakti. So impersonal Jnana and dry renunciation are unfavorable. So impersonalistic Jnana or Jnana without bhakti, that is not favorable. Like in some of the classes we have already discussed, that if one is accumulating a lot of information, Jnana, for different reasons, without the desire to only please Guru and Krishna, then what will be the result? Pride, yes. Then there'll be pride. So, and that's the example of Romarshan. So therefore, if it is without bhakti, only the Jnana or Vairagya will make the heart hard. So similarly, the Vairagya is dry renunciation. That means no bhakti, not for the purpose of pleasing Guru and Krishna. So simply some dry renunciation. So even within the practice of bhakti, so if one is simply practicing a lot of austerities for whatever reason. So sometimes one thinks I am qualified for more austerities, one may not be qualified. So one does things beyond one's adhikar, or a lot of fasting, somehow forcibly trying to fast, even though it is not recommended. I don't know how many of you have experienced, if you do nirjal, what is the mental status? Huh? What's that? Okay, I'm better, that is one thing. What I'm talking, if everyone is doing nirjal. What's that? How to pass the time? Okay. Time will pass anyways. Mind will become calm, okay. Senses not very active.
mind thinks of water.
Okay, mind thinks of water. No food, huh?
No energy in body.
Okay, all of you are quite self-realized. If one does austerity which is beyond one's capacity, I don't, huh? Pride possible. But one tends to get a little irritated and angry on slight provocation. I think so. Nobody has experience. That is why nobody told. हाँ? क्या बोल रहे? Now this is Shastric. Why? Rudra resides in austerity. That is why Durvas Muni, he gets very angry at slight provocation. Huh? Yes, he is the expansion of Rudra. But then it is explained in the third canto. So Rudra resides in such dry austerities without bhakti. So when there is no bhakti, that means the purpose of the austerity is not simply to please Guru and Krishna. We have read in Bhagavad Gita. How many types of austerities? Yes, Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun. So therefore, if one performs austerities in Rajagun, Tamagun, then the result could be that the influence of Rudra takes place, and one tends to get angry, irritated. So these are the effects of Rudra. So then, okay, we also have the other example, Vishwamitra. So Vishwamitra initially, he tried to control his senses. There was no bhakti, right? So yogis, they're simply trying to control on their own efforts. So then Menaka came, then he fell down. Then again he thought of doing. And then who came? Ramba came. And then he tried to control his lusty desires. But then what happened? Krodh. Yes, Kama. Krodh came and then he burnt her. So that is what happens. So when one practices austerities without bhakti, then Kam, Krodh, all these effects will be there. Therefore, whatever we do, the ultimate purpose should be to please Guru and Krishna. That should be the purpose. So if we whimsically do some things and think that, oh, I am being very austere and this and that, then it may turn out to be having the opposite effects. Okay, so now the next question arises. Okay, let's see yours.
Vijay, I have one.
What?
Vijay, already we have discussed so much of Gyan and Vairagya in the first verse itself, Gyan, Karmadi and Avritam. So why this point is coming up again? Because from the very beginning only this point is condemned that Gyan, Vairagya without Bhakti has no meaning. So,
Jnana Karma. So here he's addressing this point as to what are the... He's not only... This is just one of the points. No? There are other points also he's speaking. So in that discussion is completing. So what is the qualification to practice bhakti? That is what he's addressing. And so as he's addressing that question, so then he's discussing what are the disqualifications, what are the qualifications. He's presenting various things. This is just one of them. Okay, so now the next question arises. So then what type of Gyan and Vairagya are conducive for bhakti? Okay, go ahead. Okay, this is, okay, read.
Translation. Because Jnana and Vairagya generally make the heart harsh, the authoritative devotees have concluded that Bhakti alone, whose nature is very tender, is the cause of entering into Bhakti. Bhakti Rasamar Sindhu. Jiva Goswami's commentary. This verse speaks of another fault in being attached to Jnana and Vairagya. They cause hardness in the heart. In Jnana, one must deliberate on the truth by defeating a variety of other philosophies. And in Vairagya, one must renounce enjoyment by repeated tolerance of suffering. The very nature of these practices is harsh or unpleasant, and thus the heart becomes similarly harsh. This is the opposite of sweetness and softness of the heart. But how can a person enter into higher and higher stages of bhakti without some sort of assistance? The answer is given. Bhakti is said to be the cause of entering bhakti, and previous acts of bhakti alone are the cause of entering into higher stages of bhakti. But bhakti also will become a cause of hardening of the heart, since perfection can be reached only by effort. The answer is given. This bhakti, by its very nature, is extremely tender because it consists solely of thinking of the Lord's sweet form, qualities, pastimes. Therefore, the conclusion is that bhakti should be performed with the desire, make the heart melt in relation to the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj says, therefore, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, the best of all persons to whom prayers are offered, without rendering six kinds of devotional service unto you, offering obeisances to you, prayers, menial service, deity worship, remembering your pastimes, and hearing about your glories, who can achieve devotion to you, the goal of the Paramahamsas? Without these six types of service, samsevaya vina iti. How can a person attain bhakti? Vairagya and jnana are not mentioned at all in this statement.
Yes, so, so Prahlad Maharaj is saying that these are what is required to develop bhakti, so these various activities. So jnana and vairagya are not mentioned over here. So such type of jnana and vairagya, impersonal jnana and vairagya will simply make the heart hard. And for the practice of bhakti, what is required? Soft hearts, which will be moved by spiritual emotions. Spiritual emotions. The highest goal of bhakti is what? Prema. So prema means what? That's also an emotion, right? Prema is also emotion. Love is an emotion. So therefore, the heart has to become soft so that it can be moved by various spiritual emotions. So therefore, whatever is conducive to bhakti, that only must be accepted. So if the jnana and vairagya are not conducive to bhakti, then they will make the heart hard. Therefore, whimsically performed vairagya, austerities, and also acquiring lot of knowledge without that bhakti element to please the Lord, that is not conducive to bhakti. So therefore, on the path of devotional service, ultimately whatever we do should be with the goal, what goal? Yes, to please Guru and Krishna. That should be the goal. And so we find that throughout the Shastras, the great devotees, they're exhibiting so many emotions. Example? Okay, Akrura, Pundrik Vidyanidhi. Huh? Yes, the gopis, Ritu Maharaj. Yes, so we have all these examples. So we have so many examples of these great devotees exhibiting so many emotions. There are all types of emotions in the practice of bhakti also. Happiness, sadness, wonder, fear, separation, so many emotions. So many emotions. But they are all in connection to Krishna. And so therefore, the heart has to become soft. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Since perfection can be reached only by efforts, so somebody may raise that point. Somebody may raise that point that even on the path of bhakti also, we are also having austerities. We are also performing so many efforts. So we are also acquiring knowledge. So somebody may say, even these activities will make the heart hard. So then he is explaining, no, this bhakti by its very nature is extremely tender because it consists solely of thinking of Lord's sweet form, qualities, pastimes. Therefore, the conclusion is that bhakti should be performed with a desire to make the heart melt in relation to them. So therefore, everything has to be done in relation to the Lord, for the pleasure of the Lord. Then these activities of devotional service will not make the heart.
We see even after practicing devotional service, many devotees' hearts become hard-hearted.
What can I do?
Then how we should see? Like, what should how we should is there some fault in the practice then? Means they are doing chanting of Hare Krishna and doing reading Bhagavatam. Still, sometimes the heart becomes hard-hearted. Then how should we see it?
See, first of all, Nothing happens overnight. Takes time, no? Since how many lifetimes you have been in the material world? Huh? Time immemorial. So therefore, you can't expect changes immediately. It takes time. And so, we cannot expect miracles to happen. So, in ourselves also, in others also. So, we should not be impatient. This is the big problem in Kali Yuga. No patience. Nissatvat. No sattva. Because of no sattva, then there's no patience. Then immediately one tends to come to conclusion, no, process does not work. Let us find something else. No. So one has to be patient and understand that it will take some time. And at the same time, one also needs to analyze what could be the possible reasons. There could be different reasons, correct? What could be the different reasons? Yes, one of the main reasons is offenses. So, we discussed those points. So, one could be doing chanting, hearing, everything one could be doing. But if one is committing offenses, then as we saw, the sun, the holy name is like? Sun.
Fog and mist.
Yes. So, one is chanting holy name, but if there are offenses, then one is not experiencing the full effect. Yes. So, therefore, offenses could be in various ways. Offenses to the devotees, offenses to the spiritual master by not following the instructions of the spiritual master properly, or material attachment. So we saw all those different aspects of offenses. So therefore then one has to analyze one's own life. Where is the fault? What is the problem? So wherever necessary, one can make improvements and try to improve. That's how the process goes. So therefore, we saw the example is given of the child learning to walk. So when the child is learned to walk, what happens? Sometimes he falls, then again he gets up, again he falls, again he... So this is sadhana bhakti. So the path of sadhana bhakti, so yes. So we'll find, okay, there are some faults, then one has to analyze, rectify, then again go ahead. Till one comes to the stage of nishtha at least, then these things will continue. Okay? Okay, next. So then the next question is, are the qualities of Jnana and Vairagya favorable to devotional service? Why or why not? What do you think? We already gave the answer. Huh? Yes, so personal Jnana and which type of Vairagya? No, which is favorable? Yukta Vairagya. So it's Yukta Vairagya that is favorable. Okay, go ahead. Read.
Attachment to Jnana and Jnana Vairagya. The qualities of knowledge, Jnana and detachment, Vairagya, are necessary for devotional advancement. Without knowledge and detachment, one will be attached to the material body and tend to act for the body, not for Krishna's pleasure.
Okay, so Jnana and Vairagya definitely required. It's not that they're not required. But so how can one develop Jnana and Vairagya that is favorable to devotional service? By that. So have nice feast and develop Vairagya. You keep analyzing what is in the... Next. So we know this verse, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janyatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam cha yad ahetukam.
By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world.
Aage badho. Okay, so what is favorable? Yukta Vairagya. So we know the definition of Yukta Vairagya. Anasaktasya vishayan yatharam upayunjata Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate.
The vairagya of that person who employs objects suitable for devotional development while remaining detached from them is said to be suitable for bhakti. The objects should be persistently related to Krishna.
Next. So this is Falgu Vairagya. Prapanchakataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastunaha mumukshubhi parityago yagyam falgu katyate.
Rejection of things related to the Lord by persons desiring liberation who think that these things are simply material objects is called useless vairagya.
Okay. So everyone knows that Falgu, no? Falgu Nadi. What happens in the Falgu Nadi?
Means upward it is sand, but lower there is, if one put the hand, then
So it
water
appears
is
as if there is no water, but actually there is water. So similarly, it appears as if there is Vairagya, but actually there is no Vairagya. Okay. So now let's read something from the book regarding this Yukta Vairagya and Falgu Vairagya. Okay, so read this quote from the 11th canto, in the 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse 31.
In the 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse 32 and 33 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord further instructs Uddhav, my dear friend, the profits derived from fruitive activities, austerities, the culture of philosophical knowledge, renunciation, the practice of mystic yoga, charity and all similar auspicious activities are automatically achieved by my devotees, those who are simply attached to me by loving service. These devotees have everything at their disposal, but they desire nothing outside of my devotional service. If ever a devotee should desire some material profit, like promotion to the heavenly planets or some spiritual profit to go to the Vaikunthas, by my causeless mercy his desires are very easily fulfilled.
So beware of desires. If one desires something, the Lord will fulfill them. What? Spiritual desires also. So, if a devotee is desiring something, then Krishna can fulfill those desires also. But otherwise, he is saying that a devotee does not require anything. So he gets the profits derived from fruitive activities, austerities, philosophical knowledge, renunciation, mystic yoga, charity. So he gets the benefit of all these activities. He does not have to perform anything separately. That is also what is told, Krishna tells in which verse of the Bhagavad Gita? 8th chapter, last verse. What is that? What is 8th chapter, last verse? कोई तो देखो जल्दी. Correct. Yes, yes. Prithu Maharaj, that was also. Yes, Vedeshu Yajneshu Tapasu Chaiva Daneshu Yajneshu Gunam Pradishtam Adyeti Tat Sarvamidam Viditva Yogi Param Sthanupayati Chadyam.
A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end he reaches the supreme eternal abode.
So, same thing Krishna is telling Uddhava also in this verse. So, therefore, the devotee does not have to do anything separately on the path of devotional service. So, the only thing that devotee has to do is to please Guru and Krishna, follow their instructions, that's all. So, therefore, he says, those who are simply attached to me by loving service. These devotees have everything at their disposal. So, we already studied that. So, all the results of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, everything is available. Bilamangal Thakur, what he said? Yes, Mukti Mukulita Anjali Sevati Asma. So, even Mukti is standing with folded hands at the door of the devotee. And what to speak of material opulence. So all these are very easily available. Devotee doesn't require to do anything. So even if the devotee does not have mystic siddhis, but if there is requirement, then Krishna can provide. So the example given is of Durvas Muni and Amrish Maharaj. So Durvas Muni, he had so many mystic powers, he created the demon from the hair. Apparently Amrish Maharaj did not have. What is the loss? So the Lord covers up. Yoga Kshemam Vahamiyam. If devotee has something lacking, the Lord will cover up for it. So therefore, the devotee doesn't have to do anything separately. And that is what is being discussed here. The only qualification required to practice devotional service is the sincerity to practice. That's all. There's nothing else required. And if at all a devotee has some desires, like promotion to heavenly planets or some spiritual profit to go to Vaikunthas, then by my causeless mercy, his desires are very easily fulfilled. So if a devotee wants some material enjoyment, as we studied in Bhagavad Gita also, then first of all, where he goes? Yes, he goes to the heavenly planets. Then he fulfills all his desires, and then he comes back to this earth planet again, Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe, and then again is given a chance to practice devotional service. So that is how, if a devotee wants something, the desires are fulfilled. Again, we have example of Dhruva Maharaj. He had desire, but even though his desires were destroyed, but still the Lord said, okay, once you desire, take it. Have to be careful. So, okay, continue reading from the book.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, regarding one question, you said that Dhruva Maharaj previously desired, and after he saw the Lord, then all his desires were not destroyed. But still Lord awarded him. Similarly, we also before desired like this, something from the Lord. And now, no desire is there completely. So is it that Lord will fulfill that desire also?
Very difficult to say. What the Lord does, only the Lord knows. But at least we should be serious. See, even though Dhruva Maharaj, he got the kingdom, it didn't make a big difference to him because he was totally Krishna conscious. So he ruled the kingdom in totally Krishna conscious way, then left the kingdom. So there is no problem. For devotee, there is no problem. Either ways, there is no problem. So, but anyway, once he desired, Krishna fulfilled that desire. But there was no problem for Dhruva Maharaj. No, then he would be staying anyways, no? Because that was his lifespan. Then he has to live that life, no? Whether as king or not a king, he has to live that life. Correct? It's not that he prematurely can leave the body and go back to spiritual world. So that won't happen. So devotee has nothing to fear. So previously if you have desired some big kingdom or something like that, no problem. Different definitions of kingdom could be there. Read.
Actually, a person who is developing Krishna consciousness and still has some attachment to material enjoyment will soon be freed from such a tendency by regularly discharging devotional service under the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master.
Okay, that's the solution. If still one has some material attachments, what's the solution?
Go on, discharging devotional.
Continue practicing devotional service under the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master. That's how one will get purified. Okay, go ahead.
Srila Rup Goswami then recommends that one should not be attached to material sense enjoyment, but should accept everything enjoyable which is in relationship to Krishna. For example, eating is necessary, and one wants some palatable dishes to satisfy his sense of taste. So in that case, for the satisfaction of Krishna, rather than for the satisfaction of the tongue, some palatable dishes may be prepared and offered to Krishna. Then it is renunciation. Let the palatable dishes be prepared, but unless they are offered to Krishna, one should not accept them for eating. This vow of rejecting anything which is not offered to Krishna is actually renunciation. And by such renunciation, one is able to satisfy the demands of the senses.
Continue.
The impersonalists who try to avoid everything material may undergo severe austerities, but they miss the opportunity of being engaged in the service of the Lord. Thus, their renunciation is not sufficient for perfection. There are many instances where, following such artificial renunciation without any contact with devotional service, the impersonalists again fell down and became attracted to material contamination. There are many supposed renouncers, even at the present moment, who officially become sannyasis or renouncers and outwardly claim that spiritual existence is truth and material existence untruth. In this way, artificially they make a show of renunciation of the material world. However, because they cannot reach the point of devotional service, they fail to achieve the goal, and they again come back to material activities, such as philanthropic work and political agitation. There are many examples of so-called sannyasis who gave up the world as untruth, but again came to the material world because they were not seeking their real repose at the lotus feet of the Lord.
Okay, so that's the result of Falgu Vairagya. Then the Vairagya does not stay. Then again they come back to material activities because no higher taste. Or as Prabhupada writes, they were not seeking their real repose at the lotus feet of the Lord. Okay, continue.
One should not give up anything which can be utilized in the service of the Lord. That is the secret of devotional service. Anything that can be utilized in advancing Krishna consciousness and devotional service should be accepted. For instance, we are using many machines for the advancement of our present Krishna consciousness movement. Machines like typewriters, dictating machines, tape recorders, microphones, and airplanes. Sometimes people ask us why you are utilizing material products if you condemn the advancement of material civilization, but actually we do not condemn. We simply ask people to do whatever they are doing in Krishna consciousness. This is the same principle on which in Bhagavad Gita Krishna advised Arjuna to utilize his fighting ability in devotional service. Similarly, we are utilizing these machines for Krishna's service. With such sentiment for Krishna or Krishna consciousness, we can accept everything. If the typewriter can be utilized for advancing our Krishna consciousness movement, we must accept it. Similarly, the dictating machine or any other machines must be used. Our vision is that Krishna is everything. Krishna is the cause and effect, and nothing belongs to us. Krishna's things must be used in the service of Krishna. That is our vision.
Continue.
This does not mean, however, that we should not give up the
We should give up.
we should give up the principles of discharging devotional service or neglect abiding by the rules and regulations prescribed therein. In the neophyte stage of devotion, one must follow all the principles regulated by the authority of the spiritual master. The acceptance and rejection of things should always be in pursuance of the devotional principles, not that one can independently manufacture some idea of what should be accepted or rejected. The spiritual master as the visible manifestation of Krishna is necessary, therefore, to direct the devotee on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spiritual master must never be carried away by an accumulation of wealth or a large number of followers. A bona fide spiritual master will never become like that. But sometimes, if a spiritual master is not properly authorized and only on his own initiative becomes a spiritual master, he may be carried out by an accumulation of wealth and large numbers of disciples. His is not a very high grade of devotional service. If a person is carried away by such achievements, then his devotional service becomes slackened. One should therefore strictly adhere to the principles of disciplic succession.
I'm not remembering if we discussed this point before. So you all know the story of Sanatana Goswami and the touchstone. Yes. We had this discussion on this point before. Okay, so anyway, the question is, you all know the story. The question is, why didn't Sanatana Goswami use the touchstone for getting wealth to build temples and other devotional activities? Okay, Shuklam approve?
As in case of Rishabh Dev, it is said that all the mystic siddhis are already there with him. But means as a pure devotee advances, mystic siddhi also come with him. So the yogi does not purposefully does not utilize those siddhis because it's like a hunter which has a prey, means like
Okay, that's okay, that's
similarly
fine.
money also similar thing.
What
Because
similar?
he could, because money can distract us from our own path.
Okay, us is okay, but what about Sanatan Goswami? Sanatan Goswami, can he be distracted?
Like we see in case of Vashisht had a cow,
Okay,
and that cow attracted the attention of Vishwamitra, Kaushik Raja.
correct.
So similarly, that time there was Mughal rule, and if Sanatan Goswami would have done that, it could have attracted lot of like in Muslim invaders. And
But that they invaded anyways, no? They invaded anyways. And Sanatan Goswami built temple anyways.
but not out of that, no, because that's like everybody wants that.
Wants what?
Not out of that paras money, because it cannot, like we see in Krishna book also that money was with Akrura, and then
Okay, that Shamantak jewel caused problem because it landed in some wrong hands. But Sanatan Goswami,
yeah, like even devotees like Akrur were
no, that's what. Akrura is okay. Akrura had some problem. He still had some material attachment or whatever. But Sanatan Goswami was beyond all that, no?
But Prabhuji, by having that, people will come to him and ask for favors that will disturb him. Like Gaur Kidas Babaji Maharaj ke case mein, people are coming and disturbing. He said, "I'll go sit in the toilet and chant." So having that, see now he has got a Raja to sponsor the temple. He has constructed it. But having that constant source of money, with that too of that nature of turning everything.
No, he could have kept it with him, no? At least he could have kept it with him secretly somewhere. Whenever he wants, he could produce some money.
So actually, this this will disturb his dependence on Krishna actually.
Okay.
Like whenever he wants to build some temple, so he'll think I have this.
Ach, theek hai.
So
First canto, 8th chapter, text 27. So we'll read as it is. Okay, so you know this verse. Akinchana Gocharam. The Lord is the property of Namo Akinchana Vittaya. Purport. So then he gives this whole story. Aage. Yes. So he gives the whole story of the Paras money. And then he says, read from here.
The touchstone.
This specific example.
This specific example is given for the neophyte devotees just to convince them that material hankerings and spiritual advancement go ill together. Unless one is able to see everything as spiritual in relation with Supreme Lord, one must always distinguish between spirit and matter. A spiritual master like Srila Sanatan Goswami, although personally able to see everything as spiritual, set this example for us only because we have no such spiritual vision.
Yes. Advancement of material vision or material cultivation is a great stumbling block for spiritual advancement. So that's the important statement. कहाँ गया वो? अरे थोड़ा. What we just read, you show that. No, थोड़ा. और थोड़ा. Unless one is able to see everything as spiritual in relation with the Supreme Lord, one must always distinguish between spirit and matter. That's important. Unless, repeat the sentence. Unless one is able to see everything as spiritual in relation with the Supreme Lord, one must always distinguish between spirit and matter. Some of Prabhupada's statements are worth memorizing. This is the reason. Prabhupada very clearly says, spiritual master like Sanatan Goswami, personally able to see everything as spiritual. But why he did this? Only for us. Only for us. Because we have no such spiritual vision. So therefore, as Srila Prabhupada is writing over here, that This does not mean, however, that we should give up the principles of discharging devotional service or neglect abiding by the rules and regulations prescribed herein. In the neophyte stage of devotion, one must follow all the principles regulated by the authority of the spiritual master. The acceptance and rejection of things should always be in pursuance of the devotional principles, and not that one can independently manufacture some idea of what should be accepted or rejected. The spiritual master, as the visible manifestation of Krishna, is necessary, therefore, to direct the devotee on behalf of the Supreme Personality of God. Very important points. Otherwise, the principle of Yukta Vairagya can be misused. So one can think, I can use this in Krishna's service. But if one is not authorized or one does not have the adhikar, then what will happen? He'll misuse. Same example. Somebody may think, and these things have happened in our society. So somebody may think, I earn a lot of money. Why? To serve Krishna. But as he's earning money, what will happen? If he is not following the Krishna conscious principles, if it is not in accordance to the instruction of the spiritual master, that same money will become a cause of bondage. That same money will trap him. Talking about money, especially Kali Yuga, as we know, Parikshit Maharaj, when Kali said 4 places not available, then what Parikshit Maharaj said? Wherever there is hoarding of gold, there is Kali. Okay, we may not have gold. Paper currency, principle is the same. Principle is the same. Wherever there is money, there is Kali. And therefore, one has to be extremely careful. And we don't want to talk about how many devotees landed into problems because of money. So many. What to speak of Indra and all those people? That's another story. But we're talking about contemporary times, in recent times. Right in front of our eyes we have seen so many devotees, problems because of money, relations destroyed. Some such devotees who landed in such problems, unfortunately today they're not visible in the temple. Okay, so we'll show you some good references in relation to money. It's worth discussing this point. Okay, this is 7th canto, 13th chapter, text 32. This the Avadut Brahmana speaking to Prahlad Maharaj. He's saying, Pashyami dhaninam klesham. He's saying, I've seen, Pashyami. Pashyami means, I've experienced. The Avadut Brahmana is saying, what is experience? Dhaninam klesham. Somebody who is dhani, he goes through klesha. Especially one who is lubdhanam ajitatmanam. Lubdha means lobi. Ajitatmanam means uncontrolled mind and senses. Then the result is what? Bhayad alabdha nidranam sarvato bhivishankinam. Then the result is what? Bhaya and alabdha nidranam. Bhaya means fear. Alabdha nidranam means he loses sleep. That is the result of dhana. Okay, niche jao. Okay, so that is basically what is talking. Purport. These are very nice purports you can read on your own, but I am going to specify Prabhupada's instruction, especially for ISKCON devotees. Read as far as.
As far as far as our Krishna consciousness movement is concerned, we are getting money naturally by the grace of God by selling our literatures. This literature is not sold for our sense gratification. To spread the Krishna consciousness movement, we need so many things, and Krishna is therefore supplying us the requisite money to advance this mission. The mission of Krishna is to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, and for this purpose we naturally must have sufficient money. Therefore, according to the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, we should not give up attachment to money that can spread the Krishna consciousness movement.
Okay, then he's quoting the same verses. Falgu Vairagya and Yukta Vairagya. Okay, then continue. Money.
Money is undoubtedly coming in great quantities, but we should not be attached to this money for sense gratification.
Then that's the important sentence.
Every cent should be spent for spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, not for sense gratification. There is a danger for a preacher when he receives great quantities of money, for as soon as he spends even a single cent of the collection for his personal sense gratification, he becomes a fallen victim. The preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement should be extremely careful.
Extremely careful. Now, all preachers sitting here, please note.
Not to misuse the immense quantities of money needed to spread this movement. Let us not make this money the cause of our distress. It should be used for Krishna, and that will cause our eternal happiness. Money is Lakshmi, or the goddess of fortune, the companion of Narayana. Lakshmi ji must always remain with Narayana, and then there is need be no fear of degradation.
Clear? Every cent means we don't have cents, right? Okay, now no paisa also. But we see how Srila Prabhupada would account for every paisa. Literally. He would write down so many paisas used for so much. Every paisa he would account for. So he's writing this, but he's also following. And he's giving warning. What is the warning? Let us not make this money the cause of our distress. So if we don't use the money for Narayan, if we don't use the money for Narayan, then what will happen? Then Maya will come. Or Kali. If we don't use the money for Krishna service, as Prabhupada is writing, if we spend even 1 cent for our sense gratification, what is the result? He is fallen. That means that will be the result eventually. So this is no over-exaggeration or something. This is all reality. We have to be extremely careful while dealing with money. Lot of problems. Of course, he's explaining. So how many problems? He gives some 7 results in the next verses. He gives 7 results. 7 minimum. More are there. Go ahead. Next verse. Next. One that is fear. Then Shoka, Moha, Bhaya, Krodha, Raga, Klebya, Shrama, Adaya. Yan Mulaha Syur Nrinam Jayat Spruham Pranarthayor Buddha. Prana Artha. And the Prabhupada translates that as a desire for money and prestige. See, Arthayo, see, Prana is for bodily strength or prestige, and Arthayo is accumulating money. So both are, one is gross, another is subtle. Money is gross, the prestige is subtle. Same thing. But if one one hankers for these things, there is problem. One has to be sure that there will be problems if one hankers for these things. So one has to be extremely careful while dealing with these things. Money and prestige. Therefore, yesterday we were hearing, no? Of course, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, two examples. Yesterday we heard one example. Who's that? Yesterday about whom we heard in the morning Bhagavatam class? Who's the main acharya that was discussed? Madhavendra Puri. So when he got fame, yes, he got fame because? So then when that pujari came and then glorified him, then what happened? Yes, he ran away from the place. Why? He was afraid. He was afraid that he'll become prestigious. So he ran away. But then of course it's described that, yes, the fame traveled behind him. And there's another example of somebody who was fearful of fame. Who was that? Vasudev leper. When Mahaprabhu embraced him, his body became young and beautiful. Then what happened? Yes, he was afraid of… Yes, he was afraid of pride, fame. And what's the solution Mahaprabhu gave? Yes, chant once in a lifetime. Continuously chant the holy names. Then one get purified, then no fear. But all these examples are there in the Shastras. Why? To show how one needs to be extremely careful dealing with this material energy. So sometimes amongst devotee circle also, we see there is some level of trust, and then on the base of trust, one devotee gives a sort of loan to another devotee. Sometimes it could be a few lakhs of rupees also, and there is no documentation, no proof, just on the basis of trust, because all devotees are nice, pure devotees, so it's all fine. So it's okay, sentiment is good. Sentiment is good. But then we should remember, along with money, somebody is traveling along with money. What? Kali. Kali is traveling. So after he receives the huge amounts of money, then what happens? Then Kali does the job. Then Kali will enter. Then Kali will say, it's okay, you don't have to return the money back, it's all right. After all, he's a devotee, Krishna will supply, no problem. There are cases. So the devotee does not return the money, and this poor fellow has to run to the court to get the money back. Huh? And so many relationship problems, this, that, so many things happen. Everyone lands up into problem. Everyone lands up, from guru to temple president to GBC, everyone is in problem. Of course, you all know the famous case recently happened here. Only it didn't go to the outside newspapers, that's all. So, there the whole thing was what? Money. Money was the problem. There was no other problem. What a big hangama. Just for that. One has to be very careful. That time only Prabhupada has given all these warnings in his purports. He knew what is going to happen. Right during Prabhupada's time, one devotee is selling one temple for what? Money. One devotee sold one temple, took all the money and ran away. Of course, in recent times, there are other instances also. So many things are there. Recently in Mayapur, somebody stole a hundi. A devotee. The money business is very dangerous. So then what to do? Good. You sit with the money and do puja. But Prabhupada was dealing with crores of rupees. Nothing happened to him. Why? Yes. The consciousness has to be proper. The problem is, that is why the sadhana has to be good. Purification has to take place. If purification doesn't take place, the moment money comes, what the mind will say? Sense gratification. The moment money comes, money is the agent for sense gratification. So the moment money comes, mind will say, at least little you can use. Therefore you see the warnings Prabhupada is giving. So now there's one more purport. Go down. There Prabhupada gave warning to whom? To whom he gave? To especially whom? Preachers. Now he gives warning to managers. I've shown, no? Anyways, always good to repeat. That same verse those 7 effects, you've gone ahead. Thoda niche. Read that, a sannyasi.
A sannyasi should have an institution meant to preach Krishna consciousness. He need not accumulate money for himself. We recommend that as soon as money accumulates in our Krishna consciousness movement, 50% of it should be invested in printing books and 50% for expenditures, especially in establishing centers all over the world. The managers of the Krishna consciousness movement should be extremely cautious in regard to this point. Otherwise, money will be the cause of lamentation, illusion, fear, anger, material attachment, material poverty, and unnecessary hard work.
Yes. So here is giving warning to managers of the Krishna conscious movement should be extremely cautious in regard to this point of the money spent. Extremely cautious. And Prabhupada is writing that extremely just for fun, no? To fill up space or something like that. No, Prabhupada himself said, Shrutakirti Prabhu says, Prabhupada himself said, before putting every word, Srila Prabhupada thinks twice. Every word has so much of meaning. So Prabhupada is not putting these words just for fun. Extremely cautious in regard to this part. Otherwise, money will be the cause of all those effects. So many effects. Therefore, the lesson is what? As soon as money comes, money transactions come, there must be total transparency. Total transparency, full documentation. Very important. Even if it is small amount of money. So therefore, personally I try to be very careful. Sometimes devotees give me money, okay, take this money, give to that devotee. So then I make it a point, whoever gives money, first count. First count, write it down, how much money it is. Then after it reaches the other person, that other person should count. And after counting, inform this person that he has received the money, then transaction is complete. It should be all very transparent and everything well documented. Money matters, these are very important. And Prabhupada showed all this. You can read, right? 1967, Shamsundar Prabhu writes, immediately after the Avalon ball dance, so they got some donations in that. And then immediately the next day, Prabhupada calls Shamsundar Prabhu, makes him sit beside him, and then he shows him how to keep account books. Debit, credit, all that. Prabhupada teaches Shamsundar Prabhu. And that's how Prabhupada managed. So if we want to save ourselves from all this, then extremely cautious. Is this point clear? Yes, Prabhu?
Raji, here the instruction is like 50% should be, but
See, those are a little bit of details, 50% for books and 50%. So Prabhupada has given some general instructions, then time, place, circumstances, there can be some adjustments. That's all. But the important thing is about the use of money. But Prabhupada, he said, he did make this point that as soon as money comes, it should not be accumulated. That is the principle that Prabhupada is talking. Spend it for Krishna. Of course, some saving and all should be there, but then the point is that if it is not used properly for Krishna, then so many problems will come.
nowadays like trend is we accumulate money, like in Janmashtami we collect donations. Throughout the year that donation is being used. So is it not an accumulation then?
Yes, fine. So, time, place, circumstances, one may have to do these things, but the important point is one should be careful. That's okay, fine. Okay, that's on what? Yukta Vairagya. So, Yukta Vairagya. So, one may justify all this money, gadgets, facilities. One may justify all this, that this is all Yukta Vairagya. It's fine. But then, therefore, Prabhupada is making a very important point. The acceptance and rejection of things should always be in pursuance of the devotional principles. Not that one can independently manufacture some idea of what should be accepted or rejected. So now, somebody may say, oh, everything can be used in Krishna service. Huh? Everything can be used. What about onion, garlic? Krishna only has given. And Prabhupada said, taste of wine is also Krishna. He said, no? What's the problem? I am tasting Krishna in the wine. So everything can be used in Krishna service. But it should be in accordance to devotional principles. Anukulyasa sankalpa, pratikulyasa varjana. So Mahaprabhu told Nityananda Prabhu, Mahaprabhu said, Nityananda Prabhu can even go to the brothels and prostitutes to preach. No problem. That's also Yukta Vairagya, no? So can we go? So that is why the principle of Yukta Vairagya under the instruction of the spiritual master, under guidance. Similarly, in the past these things have happened. Sometimes, okay, somebody may say, okay, I'll earn money, do business, earn money to use for Krishna. So sometimes even sannyasis may get into too much of business and this and that. These problems have happened in the past. I think so we were discussing in some of the previous class. Trivikram Maharaj gave some hint. Midnight Sankirtan. So all these things have happened. Because then in the name of money for Krishna service, then so many illegal ways of getting money and so much nonsense has happened. So ultimately everything is justified. Why? Krishna service. So one has to see what is anukul, what is pratikul, and act according. Any clarifications on this point? So similarly, as Prabhupada is writing, even the spiritual master must never be carried away by accumulation of wealth, a large number of followers. So everyone needs to be careful. So again, in the name of preaching, being careless, not taking care of one's sadhana, but being too engrossed in preaching and management, ultimately everything Krishna service. But even some of our sannyasis gave up sannyas because of this reason. Yes, Prabhu, who had question?
I heard a point before that Vairagya is the necessary qualification for even attempting to go for Yukta Vairagya. So, like, what should we attempt for? Like, first to cultivate Vairagya and then, like, because we also have to apply this principle of Yukta Vairagya in day-to-day life. So, what should be our like first attempt?
Therefore, what's the first word in the definition?
Prapanchika.
Yukta Vairagya definition. What is the first word?
Anasaktasya Vishayan.
Anasaktasya Vishayan. First one has to be anasakta.
That means Vairagya.
First one has to be anasakta, then one can see everything in connection to Krishna and use everything in Krishna service. If the anasakti is not there, then when one sees some objects, what one will do? He'll enjoy. So therefore, what one can use and not use is based on the adhikar of that person. How much realization he has got of that principle we just read. How much one is able to see everything in relationship to Krishna. That is the principle. So if I'm not able to see something in relation to Krishna and have developed some detachment, then what will happen? Then one will use for sense gratification. So some basic level of detachment, anasakti has to be there. Some basic level of realization that this is Krishna's has to be there. That is the adhikar. Who is going to decide that adhikar? Some senior person has to decide. If it is left up to the person, mind will cheat him. So that's why Prabhupada is giving all these points here. Therefore, the spiritual master has to be consulted. Chicken. Yes, bro.
Here you told about how Prabhupada is telling about spending money, we should be careful. On other part, the procurement of money from where people raise the money, there are some quotations where Prabhupada says black or white, every money belongs to Krishna. So,
well,
this seems to be misused.
You have to show me the exact quote and what is the context of the quote, everything has to be seen.
Later I'll.
Because if you take some things out of context, then the statement has no meaning. So maybe Prabhupada made such statements, but then we have to see what is the context. In general, as far as the books are concerned, Srila Prabhupada has very clearly said one must obtain money by honest means. Prabhupada has written these in his purports. That is definite. So those statements may be there, but then we have to see what is the context. Okay? But in general, Srila Prabhupada didn't encourage any type of cheating and black means to get money. In general, Prabhupada always encouraged people to earn by honest means, that is devotee. Okay? Okay, fine, let's proceed. A few more points for this chapter. Please continue to read from the book. A Krishna conscious person.
A Krishna conscious person, being naturally purified, has no need of developing any other purificatory process of thought or action. On account of his being highly elevated in Krishna consciousness, he has already acquired all the good qualities and is following the rules and regulations prescribed by the mystic yogic process. Such rules are automatically practiced by the devotees. A concrete example is the quality of non-violence, which is considered a good qualification. A devotee is naturally non-violent and therefore does not have to practice non-violence
Separately.
separately. Some people seek purification by joining a vegetarian movement, but a devotee is automatically a vegetarian. He does not need to practice separately in this matter or to join any society of vegetarianism. He is automatically a vegetarian. There are many other instances showing that a devotee need not practice anything but Krishna consciousness. All the good qualities of the demigods automatically develop within him. Those who are intentionally practicing to be vegetarianism or to become non-violent may have good qualifications by a material estimation, but these qualifications are not sufficient to make them devotees. A vegetarian is not necessarily a devotee, nor is a non-violent person, but a devotee is automatically both vegetarian and non-violent. We must conclude, therefore, that vegetarianism or non-violence is not the cause of devotion.
Right, so that's the point. Vegetarianism or non-violence is not the cause for devotion. So he's discussing what are the qualifications for devotional service. That is the point. And then in the next paragraph, to illustrate this, he is giving the example of Mrigari. So we all know the story of Mrigari. So I think so we discussed this point also before when we discussed Shubhada. Yasya asti bhaktir bhakta kinchana sarver gunes tatra samasate sura. So there also we discussed. So does it mean that we try to develop these qualities separately, or there should be no endeavor? We should endeavor to develop some good qualities, or just chant Hare Krishna and be happy? Okay, he says automatically good qualities will come. So no separate endeavor is required, correct? You have something else to say? Give the mic there. Correct, Krishna consciousness beyond all good qualities.
Both go hand in hand.
What
As
go
if,
hand?
like when we start developing some good qualities and we means like apply those qualities in our practices of bhakti itself, and bhakti itself will again lead to more purification of those qualities in utilizing it in Krishna service.
Okay. So the question is, should one try to develop some qualities like humility, tolerance, good speech, good mannerisms? Should one try to develop?
Yes.
Why?
That's why, because in Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna says that austerity of speech, austerity of all these things, and we should cultivate them again to get the bhakti and to lead our devotees.
Otherwise, what will happen?
Actually, problem is
There's offenses and all these other things.
Yes, otherwise there'll be offenses. So we don't behave properly, then there'll be offenses. And if there are offenses, then how can we progress in bhakti? And if we don't progress in bhakti, how will purification take place? And if there's no purification, how will the natural qualities of the soul become manifest? Get the point? Correct? Purification has to take place, no? So now, see, good qualities are already there in the soul. Why? Yes, so it is part and parcel of Krishna. So good qualities are there. Now what's the problem? Covered by material contamination. How the material contamination will be removed? Yes, by the practice of bhakti, purification. But if we don't behave well with others, we commit offenses, then what will happen? There'll be obstacles in bhakti, right? Then we will not be able to chant the holy names properly, we won't be able to hear Krishna Katha properly, then how purification will take place? So therefore, as an austerity, one needs to practice the good qualities. Initially it's austerity. That's why Krishna is talking about austerity of body, austerity of speech, anudveg karam vakyam. Don't speak things that is agitating to others. As an austerity, one needs to practice initially, because it's not natural. But why that is essential? To please, ultimately it's to please Guru and Krishna. So that is also within the purview of bhakti only. It is not separate from bhakti. Because ultimately the goal of that is also to please Guru and Krishna. But those efforts have to be there. So if I just wait, okay, I'll simply chant the holy names whenever some humility and tolerance comes, maybe after 100 lifetimes, okay. But till then what? Till then there will be so many problems in our practice of devotional service. Correct? You got the point? So yes, so this effort to practice the good qualities is also within bhakti. It is not separate from bhakti. Because what is the goal? To please Guru and Krishna. To please the Vaishnavas. I want to behave properly with the Vaishnavas. So even though I feel like slapping this devotee because he's done such a nonsense thing, but still I tolerate. Is it clear or no?
Prabhuji, Sunnatam Swakata Krishna.
Correct.
Punya Sravana Kirtana, Hrudayantastu Ya Bhadrani.
Correct. Correct. But for that one needs some taste to hear, no?
Hearing is a devotional service.
Correct. Hearing is devotional service, but one has to have taste to hear, no? Taste is required or not to hear? So if the taste only is not there, then what one will hear? If one commits offenses, what will happen? Taste for hearing will go away. Then one does not hear only. Then where is the vidunoti? You get the point?
That hearing, taste of hearing comes from hearing.
Yes. But what happens when offenses are committed?
We lose taste for hearing.
Yes. So one loses the taste. Then what will happen? Then how purification will take place? So yes, so therefore one has to... All know the famous story of Gargamuni Prabhu, no? He didn't feel like offering obeisances. What Prabhupada said? Yes, first drop of feeling will come later. That means, as an austerity, even though it is not natural, as an austerity. I don't feel like behaving properly with this devotee, but still as an austerity somehow. Tolerates. The more we tolerate, the power to tolerate will increase. Okay, now the last part of the chapter, please read.
In this connection,
Srila Rupa Goswami affirms.
Sri Rupa Goswami affirms herein that purification of consciousness, purification of bodily activities, austerities, peace of mind, etc., all become automatically manifest in the person who is engaged in a devotional service. Sri Rupa Goswami affirms herein that there are 9 different kinds of devotional service.
Okay, fine. So this last part of the chapter is what? There are 9 Navida Bhakti. Everyone knows, correct? And then he says one can attain perfection by practicing all 9 or 8 or 7 or... Okay, in the same paragraph, Prabhupada is writing at the end. One makes yud 1, 2, 3, or all of the different process of devotional service, and at the ultimate end, he will achieve the desired goal of being established in devotional service. Okay, and then he gives examples for each of them. Who is the example for Shravanam? Kirtanam? Smaranam? Archanam? Vandanam? Dasyam? Sakyam? Atmanivedanam? Something we missed? Ho gaya. Pad Sevanam? So all these personalities achieve perfection by practicing one anga of bhakti. So what we should do? Follow in their footsteps. So do only one. That's what Prabhupada is writing, no? Do 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So why chant? I'll only hear.
Prabhuji, by doing each of this will help the one which you want to do effectively.
क्या बोल रहे हैं?
Prabhuji,
हाँ,
मैं बोल रहा था Prabhuji, if you are interested in chanting also, like even in our movement, Mahaprabhu's movement, this keep chanting and kirtan. By doing all other angas, they'll help you do these things more properly.
okay. Other activities will help one to do Shravanam Kirtana. But here the authorization is given, do only one.
The Prabhupada said even if you do only one, still you'll success. He didn't tell that you should only do one. You choose only one and one you वो एक रास्ता से बाहर नहीं आने का.
Here, see here what Prabhupada says. One may execute 1, 2, 3, or all the different.
Yeah.
So much choice is there.
No, yes, Prabhuji, it is there, Prabhuji.
It's
Because one thing is, Prabhuji, let's say Shravanam all includes other activities also.
Hey, what do you mean?
My means like, Prabhuji, you said,
अरे क्या हो गया भाई?
हाँ Prabhuji, मैं बोला था Prabhuji, let's say we'll take example of Shravanam.
हाँ.
Sri Guru Goswami is like, he's doing Shravanam.
हाँ.
He is doing Kirtanam. So for doing Kirtanam, he has to do Shravanam also. No, he has done earlier. So it's
Yeah.
not.
I can't understand your logic.
So what I'm trying to tell is, now Sukadeva Goswami, here Prabhupada has given example for Kirtanam. Is to glorify the Lord.
Okay.
Now, to glorify the Lord, he might have done the Shravanam first, no, Prabhuji? कैसे कीर्तनम करेंगे बिना श्रवणम का?
Okay, fine. Okay, you do only Shravanam then. Okay, agreed. You're saying that for Kirtanam, Shravanam is required. Then you do only Shravanam.
Prabhuji, we have discussed this point earlier when we are talking about can you do only Shravanam, that it is for Parshit Maharaj, he can do only Shravanam. But are we at the level of doing Shravanam? So because we were in Bhagavad Gita also we have discussed the same point. We have said that now we are not in a stage where we can control all our centers, sit in one place and do only one activity. So by engaging all the services, all our senses by doing different activities in this 9 devotion service, it will help us achieve the things better.
Good. Yes, that's the point. Yes, so it is not possible. Can we sit like Parishit Maharaj and do? We have enough experience how much difficulty is there. So therefore, it is not possible for us to do only one. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, okay, engage all the senses, somehow engage all the senses in Krishna's service morning to evening and then get purified. So it's not possible for us. And therefore, the example of Ambarish Maharaj is given. So then Prabhupada gives the example of Ambarish Maharaj. He used everything in Krishna's service. Okay, so that's how this chapter ends. Anything else is there in that? नहीं है ना? देखो ना. Okay, fine, it's over. Okay, so that's the end of Vedi Sadhana Bhakti. Okay, finished. Vedi Sadhana Bhakti finally finished. Now spontaneous Raganuga Bhakti. Okay, fine, break. So we are still not on the Raga platform, we need some breaks. और कौन है? हाँ आप लोग और बाहर लोग हैं क्या? हाँ वो हमारे दो बैठे रहते हैं. Okay. कहाँ गए बाकी लोग? Okay, Hare Krishna, let's begin. Chapter 15, Spontaneous Devotional Service. Please do the first paragraph.
Examples of spontaneous devotional service can be easily seen in a Krishna's direct associates in Vrindavan. The spontaneous dealing of resident of Vrindavan in a relationship with Krishna are called Raga Nuga. These beings don't have to learn anything about devotional service. They are already perfect in all regulative principles and Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, the cowherd boys who are playing with Krishna do not have to learn by austerities or penances or yogic practice how to play with him. They have passed all tests of regulative principles in their previous lives, and as a result, they are now elevated to the position of direct association with Krishna as his dear friends. Their spontaneous attitude is called Raganuga Bhakti.
Okay, so somehow this printing mistake or whatever. So here this is not Raganuga, this is Ragatmika. Okay, this is Ragatmika. In the next paragraph also, that is Ragatmika. Okay, now we'll see here. Okay, so definition of Raga. Spontaneous absorption in one's object of love is called Raga. So it is spontaneous, Swarasaki, and it is absorption. So it is not just some attraction, it is absorption. One is absorbed in the object of love. That is called as Raga. Next. So this is the definition of Ragatmika Bhakti. Ishte Swarasaki Raga Paramavishtata Bhavet Tanmaya Bhavet Bhakti Satra Ragatmikodita. Next. Read.
When one becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his natural inclination to love is fully absorbed in thoughts of the Lord. That is called transcendental attachment. And devotional service according to that attachment is called Ragatmika or spontaneous devotional service.
Yes. So the natural inclination to love is fully absorbed. So this full attachment to the Lord. So this is called as Ragatmika Bhakti. As Srila Prabhupada is writing here, the examples of spontaneous devotional service can be easily seen in Krishna's direct associates in Vrindavan. Next. So Ragatmika Bhakti is of two types. Sa Kama Rupa, Sambandha Rupa, Cheti Bhavet Dvida. There are two types of Ragatmika Bhakti. That impelled by conjugal feelings, that is called Kama Rupa, and that impelled by other relationships, that is called as Sambandha Rupa. Okay? Two types of Ragatmika Bhakti. Next. So the example of Kama Rupa Bhakti is what? The women of Vraja. They have a particular type of prema which has a special sweetness. It is called Kama otherwise because it's cause of various amorous actions. So the example of Kama Rupa is the gopis. Read.
Next, Sambandha Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti will be discussed. Sambandha Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti is that bhakti inspired by great absorption arising from identifying oneself as the parent, friend, or servant of Govinda. This refers to the bhakti of the cowherd people, which is indicated by the word Sambandhat Brishnaya, quoted in verse 275 as an example of Sambandha. This is because these other relationships in Braja also have a predominance of intense affection raga, caused by a lack of our awareness of Krishna as God.
Okay, so all the other relationships, that means Vatsalya, Sakhya and Dasya. So all those are Sambandha Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti. Kama Rupa and Sambandha Rupa. Kama Rupa is only gopis, Madhurya. And the other relationships, that is Vatsalya, Sakhya, Dasya, all of them are Sambandha Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti. So these are perfected devotees. Their attraction is perfect. Their attachment is perfect. So for each of these there are examples. Just like for Vatsalya, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. So they are perfected devotees. Nobody can take their place. No jiva can take their place. Nobody can become Nanda Maharaj or Yashoda, even if one wants to. So similarly, there are some friends like Subal, Sridhama. So these are also eternal associates, Ragatmika devotees. No one can take their place. They are fixed. No vacancies. And also some servants like Raktak, Patrak and these servants, they are also eternal servants. And similarly amongst the gopis also, like Lalita, Vishaka, no one can take their positions. They're all fixed. So these are Ragatmika devotees. As Prabhupada is writing, they don't have to learn how to play with Krishna. Now all the training is finished. Now they're fully perfect, full attraction. Okay, this is Ragatmika Bhakti. So Srila Prabhupada is quoting so Prabhupada doesn't use the technical terms, but you can see Prabhupada is saying Ragatmika Bhakti in the next paragraph. Further, there were two categories. One category is called sensual attraction, the other is called relationship. So they're basically the same thing. Sambandha Rupa and Kama Rupa. And then he's quoting this verse from the 7th canto, 1st chapter, verse 30. You know that famous verse? Kama, Dveshat, Bhayat, Kamso. So there he talks about 5 different ways one can develop attraction to Krishna. So then he's explaining that. And the next paragraph he talks about the gopis. The gopis may be considered to be examples of spontaneous love and sensual attraction. Okay, just read that paragraph.
The gopis may be considered to be examples of spontaneous love in sensual attraction. The gopis are young girls and Krishna is a young boy. Superficially, it seems that the gopis are attracted to Krishna on grounds of sex. Similarly, King Kamsa was attracted to Krishna because of fear. Kamsa was always fearful of Krishna because it had been foretold that his sister's son Krishna would kill him. Shishupal was also always envious of Krishna. And the descendants of King Yadu, due to their family relationship with Krishna, were always thinking of him as one of their members. All of these different kinds of devotees have a spontaneous attraction for Krishna in different categories, and they achieve the same desired goal of life.
Of course, it is said same, but still there's a difference. Okay, they enter the spiritual sky, but there is a difference. And that is what Prabhupada further goes on to explain, that how Kamsa and Shishupal, because they were envious, then they enter into the Brahmajyoti. So then Prabhupada goes into a whole Prabhupada goes into the basics of Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, the analogy of the sun, all that he's explaining. And then he says that the absolute truth and his body effulgence are in the same way simultaneous, one and different. Kamsa and Shishupal attained to the absolute truth, but they were not allowed to enter into the Golok Vrindavan abode. Impersonalists and enemies of the Lord are, because of attraction to God, allowed to enter into his kingdom, but they are not allowed to enter into the Vaikuntha planets or the Golok Vrindavan planet of the Supreme Lord. To enter the kingdom and to enter the king's palace are not the same thing. And then Prabhupada says that the impersonalist philosophers, next paragraph, the impersonalist philosophers are in one sense like the enemies of the Lord, because the out and out enemies of the Lord and the impersonalists are both allowed to enter only into the impersonal effulgence of Brahmajyoti. So it is to be understood that they are of similar classification. So Prabhupada in his lectures also he explains that if you give one place to the enemy and then another person also you give the same place, that means what? That means he is also as good as enemy. So the enemies like Kamsa and Shishupal, they are allowed entrance into Brahmajyoti, and the impersonalists, they also go to Brahmajyoti. That means what? They are as good as enemies. So that is the point. So they try always to place themselves on the same level with the Lord. That is due to their envious attitude. So therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has proclaimed the impersonalists to be offenders of the Lord. The Lord is so kind, however, that even though they are his enemies, they are still allowed to enter in the spiritual kingdom and remain the impersonal Brahmajyoti, the undifferential light of the Absolute.
In case of Sisupal, Sisupal entered the body of Lord. That in that past time it comes, but did he actually merge in Brahmajyoti, or because he is same as?
Of course, we know that yes, he merged in the body of the Lord, and then afterwards, of course, basically there is Jaya and Vijay, na? But then they go back to Vaikuntha.
But other demons whom did Krishna kill, like Bakasura, Ghasura, they all entered into Brahmajyoti.
Correct.
Putana.
Exception. Putna is exception. Because she did some service. Yes, because he also did some service.
Playground for.
No, everyone didn't do service. They did some special service. Some pleasure they gave, pleasure.
Did you say that every soul has some swarupa there?
We are coming. Relax. स्वरूप सिद्धि चाहिए, जल्दी चाहिए. Okay, now go to the next heading, sensual attraction. Read that.
This extreme desire to serve the Lord is manifest in the transcendental land of Vraja, and it is specifically manifested among the gopis. The gopis' love for Krishna is so elevated that for our understanding it is sometimes explained as being lusty desire. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Krishnadas, has explained the distinction between lusty desire and the service attitude in this statement. Lusty desires refers to the desire to gratify one's personal senses, and transcendental desire refers to the desire for serving the senses of the Lord.
Okay, so everyone knows definitions of kama and prema. Kama is Atmendriya Priti Vanch, and prema is Krishnendriya Priti. So that is what is explained.
In the material world, there is no such thing as a lover's wanting to please the senses of his beloved. Actually, in the material world, everyone wants mainly to gratify his own personal senses.
So everything that goes on the name of love is actually lust. Each one is interested in his own sense gratification.
The gopis, however, wanted nothing at all but to gratify the senses of the Lord. And there is no instance of this in the material world. Therefore,
so what is the well-known story Prabhupada tells about the gopis' selfless desire? Krishna's headache.
Therefore, the gopis' ecstatic love for Krishna is sometimes described by scholars as being like the lusty desire of the material world. But actually, this should not be taken as a literal effect. It is simply a way of trying to understand the transcendental situation. Great devotees up to the standard of Uddhava are very dear friends of the Lord, and they desire to follow in the footsteps of the gopis. So the gopis' love for Krishna is certainly not material lusty desire. Otherwise, how could Uddhava aspire to follow in their footsteps? Another instance is Lord Chaitanya himself. After accepting the sannyas order of life, he was very, very strict about avoiding association with women. But still, he taught that there is no better method of worshipping Krishna than that conceived by the gopis.
So what's the verse? Ramya kachit upasana vrajavadu varge nava kalpita.
Thus, the gopis' method of worshipping the Lord, as if impelled by lusty desire, was praised very highly even by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This very fact means that although the attraction of the gopis for Krishna appear to be lusty, it is not in the least bit material. Unless one is fully situated in the transcendental position, the relationship of the gopis with Krishna is very difficult to understand. But because it appears to be just like ordinary dealings of young boys and girls, it is sometimes misinterpreted to be like the ordinary sex of this material world. Unfortunately, persons who cannot understand the transcendental nature of the love affairs of the gopis and Krishna take it for granted that Krishna's love affairs with the gopis are mundane transactions, and therefore they sometimes indulge in painting licentious pictures in some modernistic style. On the other hand, the lusty desires of Kubja is described by learned scholars as being almost lusty desire. Kubja was a hunchbacked woman who also wanted Krishna with a great ecstatic love. But her desire for Krishna was almost mundane, and so her love cannot be compared to the love of gopis. Her loving affection for Krishna is called Kama Praya, or almost like the gopis' love for Krishna.
Okay, so this is Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti. Okay, that is basically the gopis. Now, next chapter.
Question.
Just read that relationship. So, Sambandha Rupa.
Relationship. In the attitude of the denizens of Vrindavan, such as Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, is to be found the ideal transcendental concept of being the father and mother of Krishna, the original personality of Godhead. Actually, no one can become the father and mother of Krishna but a devotee's possessor of such transcendental feeling is called love Krishna in parental relationship. The Brishnis, the Krishna's relative, and at Dwaraka also felt like that. So, spontaneous love of Krishna in the
parental
relationship is found both among these denizens of Dwaraka who belong to the dynasty of Brishni and among the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Spontaneous love of Krishna as exhibited by the Brishni and the denizens of Vrindavan is eternally existing in them. In the stage of devotional service where regulative principles are followed, there is no necessity of discussing this love, for it must develop of itself at a more advanced stage.
So anyway, so this is Sambandha Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti, that is in all the other relationships. That is Vatsalya, Sakya and Dasya. So these are all perfected devotees of Vrindavan. This is only referring, of course the Vrishnis also have been put over here, but mostly we are referring only to the Vrajvasis. This is Golok Vrindavan.
Question.
Next point.
Question.
What's the question?
When we are discussing that if enemy is put in a particular place and then one more person is put in the same place, then that's considered as like enemy. We're discussing that. Prabhuji, like when we speak of Brahmavadis, we always give the definition that they know the personal form of the Lord. They know that that form is transcendental, but they are attached to the impersonal feature because they don't want to serve the Lord. So,
Yes, so still that desire to merge is also considered a materialistic desire, isn't it?
okay. So, Prabhuji,
Mukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami.
yes, Prabhuji. So, like, okay, fine. So, the second question, Prabhuji, now, like in the last chapter, this Kubja's example has come. You said this is not this Kama Rupa, but Kama Praya karke they have written it. So, Prabhuji, when we see Kubja for being lust or for Sishupala, for being angry or what Kamsa, but for fear and all. So, how do we define their devotion, Prabhuji? Because it doesn't come under political service because it is, but for Kamsa, it's outright not favorable.
Yeah, so Kamsa, Shishupala, all of them, it's not Anukul.
But for Kubja, how do we define, Prabhuji? Like her devotion service is pure devotion service or like.
So therefore, it's almost pure Kama Praya. That's how they're defined. So that means there is some love because she wanted to serve. So there is some love. She actually served under great risk. She gave the Chandan, Kamsa's Chandan to Krishna at great risk of her own life. So therefore, there was some prem there. There was love. But at the same time, she also had some desire for material enjoyment. So therefore, it's not totally pure. Okay?
But in like technical terms, में like her devotion service is pure devotion service or not mixed? Yeah, like pradhani bhuta or like how do we
Yes,
define?
that's why it's Kama Praya. So it's not totally pure. There is some contamination.
Yes, yes.
Okay? Fine. Now,
About this in the previous one, the licentious picture which was written. They made the Krishna with the gopis, this type of pictures. So in several temples also, in famous temples also I've seen this type of pictures of Krishna with the gopis. So these are there. So how to answer when people ask these questions, why this type of pictures are there? Because Prabhupada has not allowed in ISKCON temples this type of pictures. But in many temples we see.
you're
So
talking about ISKCON temples or the
traditional temple.
what to do?
What is the reason for that?
Now they are taking whatever photos, pictures they get from the outside world, they're taking. And because they don't have proper knowledge. The main thing is lack of proper knowledge. So you have to go and preach to them. You give them proper knowledge. They don't have knowledge, that's why they're doing like that. क्या बोले? हाँ? Yes, correct. You inspire him to. हाँ, क्या है? You have some question? No? Okay, fine. Okay, go to the next point. Eligibility for spontaneous devotional service. Read.
Persons desiring to follow in the footsteps of such eternal devotees of the Lord as the Vrishnis and Vrindavan denizens are called Raganuga devotees, which means that they are trying to attain to the perfection of those devotees.
Wait, before going ahead, we'll define Raganuga. So we defined Ragatmika. Now this is the definition of Raganuga. Virajantim abhivyaktam vrajavasi janadishu ragatmikam anushrishta yasa raganugochate. Raganuga bhakti is defined as that bhakti which follows after the Ragatmika bhakti found distinctively in the inhabitants of Vraja. Okay, Raga Anuga. Anuga means to follow. Follow whom? Ragatmika devotees. So when the bhakti is following the Ragatmika devotees, that is called as Raganuga. Then there's a technical definition also. So this is the actual definition. Virajantim abhivyaktam vrajavasi janadishu ragatmikam anusrishta yasa raganu. Same thing, no? But anyway, go. Read.
Devotional service in spontaneous love is vividly expressed and manifested by the inhabitants of Vrindavan.
devotional service that accords with their devotional service is called Raganuga Bhakti, or devotional service following in the wake of spontaneous loving services.
Okay, so basically it is following the Ragatmika devotee, following the bhakti of the Ragatmika devotees. That is called Raganuga. Next. Okay, so just like Ragatmika is of two types, so similarly Raganuga is also of two types, and that is, so Ragatmika bhakti is Siddha bhakti. Raganuga bhakti is Sadhana bhakti. Correct? We have said two types of sadhana bhakti, Vedi and Raganuga. So this is also sadhana bhakti. Ragatmika is Siddha. They are perfect. So the two types are Kamanuga, Sambandh Anuga. So just like there it was, Kama Rupa, Sambandha Rupa. So similarly here it is, Kamanuga, Sambandha Anuga. Next. Okay, now we'll read this. Qualification or eligibility for spontaneous. Now read.
Persons desiring to follow in the footsteps of such eternal devotees of the Lord as the Vrishnis and Vrindavan denizens are called Raganuga devotees, which means that they are trying to attain to the perfection of those devotees. These Raganuga devotees do not follow the regulative principles of devotional service very strictly, but by spontaneous nature they become attracted to some of the eternal devotees such as Nanda or Yashoda, and they try to follow in their footsteps spontaneously. There is a gradual development of the ambition to become like a particular devotee, and this activity is called Raganuga. We must always remember, however, that such eagerness to follow in the footsteps of the denizens of Vraja Vrindavan is not possible unless one is freed from material contamination. In following the regulative principles of devotional service, there is a stage called Anartha Nivritti, which means the disappearance of all material contamination. Sometimes someone is found imitating such devotional love, but factually he is not freed from anarthas or unwanted habits. It has been seen that a so-called devotee proclaims himself a follower of Nanda, Yashoda or Gopis, while at the same time his abominable attraction for mundane sex life is visible. Such a manifestation of divine love is mere imitation and has no value. When one is actually spontaneously attracted to the loving principles of the Gopis, there will be found no trace of any mundane contamination in his character. Therefore, in the beginning, everyone should strictly follow the regulative principles of devotional service, according to the injunctions of the scriptures and the spiritual master. Only after the stage of liberation from material contamination can one actually aspire to follow in the footsteps of the devotees in Vrindavan.
Okay, eligibility clear? So one has to be totally free from
Anarthas.
material contamination. So therefore, Raganuga Bhakti is only practiced at a very high stage like Asakti. When Anartha Nivritti is almost fully complete, that is when one is qualified to practice this Raganuga Bhakti. As Prabhupada says, no trace of any mundane contamination in his character. So, the stage of Asakti is described in Madhurikadamani. So, at the stage of Asakti, the attraction to Krishna is so strong that even if by chance the mind goes away from Krishna, it spontaneously jumps back to Krishna. Occasionally it may go away from Krishna. Even if it goes, spontaneously will come back to Krishna. That is Asakti. So we can understand what is our stage. So in our mind, it's mostly always away from Krishna. And pulling, pushing to focus on Krishna is difficult. But stage of Asakti, the mind automatically, that is Asakti. So therefore, that is the stage when one can even think of Raganuga. Now, therefore Prabhupada is writing, therefore in the beginning, everyone should strictly follow the regulative principles of devotional service according to the injunctions of scriptures and spiritual master. Only after the stage of liberation from material contamination can one actually aspire to follow in the footsteps of the devotees in Vrindavan, totally free from material contamination. Then one can think about it, not prematurely. So therefore, so basically Raganuga means following in the footsteps of the Ragatmika devotees. So as Prabhupada writes, these Raganuga devotees do not follow the regulative principles of devotional service very strictly, but by spontaneous nature they become attracted to some of the eternal devotees such as Nanda or Yashoda and try to follow in the process spontaneously. Now one should not misunderstand this. When it is said that they do not follow the regulative principles of devotional service very strictly, it means that their impetus for devotional service is not the regulative principles. That is the meaning. Later paragraph Prabhupada will clarify this. So that is the meaning there. It does not mean that they don't follow, but their impetus for practicing devotional service is not rules and regulations. Their impetus is spontaneous love. That is their impetus. That is the meaning of that statement. And so, also it is important to know that so all this will be gradually revealed. Okay, we'll discuss that in a moment.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, somebody can...
Wait. We'll just finish this discussion, then we'll come to your question. There are some standard questions, we know that. So, qualification for Raganuga, taddad bhavadi madhurye shrute dhiryad apekshate natra shastram na yuktim cha tal lobhopatti lakshanam. Read.
When an advanced realized devotee hears about the affairs of the devotee of Vrindavan in the mellows of Santa, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya and Madhurya, he becomes inclined in this way and his intelligence becomes attracted. Indeed, he begins to covet that particular type of devotion.
Wait. When an advanced realized devotee. That is the qualification. Till then, don't think of all these things. Of course, we must know what is the goal, but we can't artificially do that. Till one becomes advanced, realized devotee. Then when he hears about the activities of these eternal residents of Vrindavan, then he naturally becomes attracted. And then he desires to practice that particular type of devotion. So when one becomes advanced, realized devotee, all that will be revealed. At least asakti. Then all this will be revealed, whom to follow. Whether to follow Nanda or Yashoda or the gopis or Sridhama or Sudama or peacocks or what. Everything will be revealed at the right time. One cannot prematurely imagine. One cannot say, I want to become. There is no question of wanting. Okay, you can want, you can desire. It's fine. You can have all the desires in the world, no problem. But ultimately, Krishna is going to decide. And at the right time, it will be revealed. One cannot prematurely, artificially jump. Clear? Clear or no? Yes. We're emphasizing these points because, a lot of these things are being spoken in the world today. Go ahead. Read.
When such
Covetousness means desire to achieve that relationship. To covet means to occupy. Desire to occupy that post or position, that is covetousness.
is awakened, one's intelligence no longer depends on the instruction of Shastra, revealed scripture, logic, or arguments.
Okay, so that is the point. So the impetus to perform devotional service is not based on this Shastra, logic, argument, instruction, spiritual. No. There is spontaneous love. So out of spontaneous love, they practice bhakti. So it's not dependent on these injunctions. Okay, next. Okay, this we read from Prabhupada's book. Same thing. Next. Next. Okay, read. This is from Giraj Maharaj's lecture.
If someone hears about the love of the residents of Vrindavan for Krishna, and if he thinks, I am so lowly, I am so fallen, that it's such a high thing, I could never have that, that is not greed. Greed is, I may be a fool, I may be a rascal, I may be a nonsense, but still I must have it. And somehow or another, I must get it. I must get it. That is greed, no reservation. It doesn't mean that he doesn't follow the process, but he follows the process out of greed. So if he has greed, he will follow the same process that the devotees in Vaidhi Bhakti follow. But he won't follow the idea that the scripture may say that has to do it. He will follow it with the idea that in the end, I will get what I want.
This is what? Laulyam. There is laulyam. I want to make progress. I want to advance. I want to become Krishna's associate. So there has to be greed. So therefore he says, it's not that he gives up the process. He'll follow the same process that devotees in Vaidhi Bhakti follow. It's not that he'll give up the process. But what is the mood? This is the internal mood. The internal mood is greed. It is not because what to do, the authorities are saying I have to attend Bhagavatam class. What? Not like that. Or applies for everything else, whether it's Mangalarti or chanting. So it's not that what to do, I have to do it. These authorities are saying, no. So this is actually what we should try to develop. So ultimately, what is the practice of devotional service for? Whose benefit it is? Whose benefit? Whose benefit? Good. The editing was quite quick. My benefits. I am practicing devotional service for my benefits. It's not somebody else's benefit. Correct? How many of us require invitation for prasadam? Anyone require? Why? Why? One thing is hunger. Yes, that's correct. Greed. Greed for what? Greed for satisfying the hunger, correct? The hunger of the belly. So we know that this is something very essential for me. If I don't eat, I will die. Though nothing will happen. At least that's what one thinks. So one feels the great needs. Therefore one rushes. So you can see in Bhagavatam class, you can see. As soon as 9:10, the exit will begin. So one feels the great need. So similarly, that same mentality has to be transferred to Krishna. So one should feel the great needs. I need to attend Mangalarti because I want to develop love for Krishna. I need to chant attentively so that I develop love for Krishna. Whose business is it? It's my business. It's nobody else's business. So it is my problem. Who is suffering in this body? Who's suffering in this body? I. Nobody else suffers. I'm only suffering. I have this body, and whatever happens to this body, I have to suffer. We all have experience, right? If I get some disease, I get headache. There could be 10 devotees around saying, don't worry, you're not the body, you're the soul, you'll go back to Krishna. So many things they will say. But ultimately, who suffers the headache? I have to face it. So similarly, if I know that I am in problem, how eager I must be to get the solution. Correct? I am in difficulty, I have a problem, then shouldn't we be eager, or shouldn't I be eager to get out of the problem? Or should somebody have to push? It's not very intelligent, right? I'm in difficulty, I'm suffering so much. Since how many years? Since how many years each one of us has been suffering? So how eager I must be. As Srila Prabhupada in many lectures says, Aranare Bap. You heard that? Means what? Oh nahi, bahut ho gaya. Are we feeling that frustration? If one says yes, then it must be reflected in the devotional practices. To the degree one is frustrated, then one's devotional practices will be intense. So one should develop the greed. I want to achieve Krishna. That is the greed. So then one will come to that spontaneous platform. Then it doesn't matter whether one says you must attend Mangalarti or not attend Mangalarti, it doesn't matter. One will be eager because it is for my benefits. Who cares whether attendance is there, not there? Who cares? Those following of those rules and regulations are for neophytes. If that is the impetus that is required, it's for neophytes. Prabhupada writes that. It's for neophytes. If always that push is required, then it's for neophytes. So if you want to make progress, then some spontaneous attraction has to be there. It's for my benefit. So that is the stage of spontaneous attraction. So he will still follow the process, but it is not with the idea that the scriptures say that he has to do it. He'll follow it with the idea that in the end I'll get what I want, and that is Krishna. Okay, next. Okay, now this is the process, practicing Raganuga Bhakti. So that is till now what we discussed? Qualification. So now this is the practice. So the practice is Krishnam Smaran Janam Chasya Preshtam Nija Samhitam Tat Katha Rataschasau Kuryad Vasam Vraje Sada. Go ahead. Okay, read.
The devotee should always think of Krishna within himself and should choose a very dear devotee who is a servitor of Krishna in Vrindavana. One should constantly engage in topics about that servitor and his loving relationship with Krishna. And one should live in Vrindavan. If one is physically unable to go to Vrindavan, he should mentally live.
Right. So this is the practice. So the practice is that he should always think of Krishna within himself and should choose. Of course, again the same point. Even though it is written, should choose, but it's not that. It's not sabji market. So it will be revealed. It will be revealed. and then one follows in the footsteps. So he choose, and then one should constantly engage in topics about that servitor, that ragatmika devotee, like Nanda, Yashoda. So one should always think about that particular devotee, follow in his footsteps, and discuss about him, hear about him. And if possible, one should live in Vrindavan. If it's not physically possible, then at least mentally one should stay in Vrindavan. But this is on the Raganuga platform. We already discussed the qualification. Okay? Okay, go ahead.
One meditate on the relationship of service between Krishna and his dear devotee according to one's devotional aspiration. A person who aspires to constantly remember Krishna and his eternal devotees is advised to physically or mentally take shelter of Vrindavan.
Okay. Okay, before this, we'll read one paragraph from the book. So this paragraph is the same as what we read. It is said by Sri Rupa Goswami, when one is actually liberated from material contamination, he can always remember an eternal devotee in Vrindavan in order to love Krishna in the same capacity. Again, he is making the point clear. When one is actually liberated from material contamination, then. So either he physically goes and stays in Vrindavan, or he mentally he thinks about Vrindavan and follows in the footsteps of that particular devotee. Now read the next paragraph. A devotee
who is actually advanced in Krishna consciousness, which constantly engaged in devotional service, should not manifest himself even though he has attained perfection. The idea is that he should always continue to act as a neophyte devotee as long as his material body is there. Activities in devotional service under regulative principles must be followed even by the pure devotee. But when he realizes his actual position in relationship with the Lord, he can, along with the discharging of regulative service, think within himself of the Lord under the guidance of a particular associate of the Lord and develop his transcendental sentiment in following the associate.
So these are some very important points. A devotee who is actually advanced in Krishna consciousness, who is constantly engaged in devotional service, should not manifest himself even though he has attained perfection. The idea is that he should always continue to act as a neophyte. He's not neophyte, but act as a neophyte devotee as long as his material body is there. Activities in devotional service and regulative principles must be followed even by the pure devotee. Devotional service is not meant for advertisement. Please remember this point. Devotional service is not meant for advertisement. And therefore Prabhupada makes the point very clear that however advanced one is, one continues to act as a neophyte devotee following all the rules and regulations. And that is in fact, that is the natural humility of a devotee. The more one actually advances, the more humble he becomes. So he never thinks he's advanced. And so therefore he follows all the rules and regulations strictly, because he never thinks he's advanced. And this point is very important, because if somebody is advertising, as so many do, so if people are advertising, oh, we are on the Raganuga platform, Bhava platform, come to us, how long you'll remain in ISKCON? If they are making such advertisement, we should be 100% convinced that they are bogus. No ideal devotee will advertise like that. But unfortunately, our ISKCON devotees also get trapped by such bogus advertisements. Of course, they became impatient. So they became impatient, and they were eagerly looking for followers. So the match was good, and they went away. So we should be very clear about this point. One should not fall a trap to bogus advertisements like that. Is this point clear? Our devotees have fallen trap to this nonsense. Devotional service is not meant for advertisement. So no advanced devotee will ever say, now I become advanced, now I don't have to follow rules and regulations, now I don't have to come for Mangalarti, I become senior, I become advanced, now I've attended enough Mangalartis, now it's only for the PDC devotees. This is all bogus, nonsense. These are not the characteristics of a really sincere advanced devotee. So therefore Prabhupada is making the point very clear. Activities in devotional service under regulative principles must be followed even by the pure devotee. All right? What's that? Okay, let's go ahead. So now there's an important verse regarding the process of Raganuga Bhakti. Why it is important, we'll see. Seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena chatrahi tad bhava lipsuna karya vraja lokanusarata. So there are two things here. Seva sadhaka rupena and siddha rupena. Okay, go ahead. Read.
The advanced devotee who is inclined to spontaneous loving service should follow the activities of a particular associate of Krishna's in Vrindavan. He should execute service externally as a regulative devotee as well as internally from his self-realized position. Thus, he should perform devotional service both externally and internally.
So, Seva Sadhaka Rupena is external and Siddha Rupena is internal. Okay, go ahead. So, Sadhaka Rupa refers to the physical body of the practitioner, and the Siddha Rupa refers to the body which is suitable for one's desired service and which is developed by internal meditation. So, this is what? The Siddha Rupa is only for internal meditation. It is not for external show. Okay, this will be explained.
Residents of Golok Vrindavan exist in two manifestations, as sadhakas, as siddhas. Srila Rupa Goswami, for example, simultaneously exists in Gaur Leela as Srila Rupa Goswami, a sadhaka, and in Krishna Leela as Rupa Manjari, a siddha. One should thus meditate upon these two Vrajalokas in two ways, externally and internally.
Next.
For example, one who desires to achieve the service and mood of Srila Rupa Goswami would follow in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami's sadhana.
This is externally. The externally is Seva Sadhaka Rupena. So one wants to become Rupa Manjari, fine, but externally he follows the sadhana of Rupa Goswami. The strict sadhana which Rupa Goswami followed. That is what he follows externally. And internally? Next. Okay, externally, continue.
A devotee who is actually advanced in Krishna consciousness, who is constantly engaged in devotional service, should not manifest himself, even though he has attained perfection. Activities in devotional service under regulative principles must be followed even by pure devotee. For example,
this is internally.
One who desires to achieve the service and mood of Srila Rupa Goswami would internally meditate on the activities of Srila Rupa Manjari, nicely described by Raghunath Das Goswami in Vraj Vilas Tava.
This is only meant for internal meditation. These activities of Rupa Manjari is not for external show. Not that he starts dressing as Rupa Manjari or Gopi. No, this is only for internal meditation. It is not meant for external show. Is this point clear?
Yes. by offering her betel nuts,
So
by,
these are the activities of Rupa Manjari.
by massaging her feet, by bringing her water, by arranging for her secret meeting with Lord Krishna, and by performing many other services. Many gopi maid servants affectionately please Sri Radha, who is more dear than life. I take shelter of those gopi maid servants who have Srila Rupa Manjari as their leader.
This is
When he realizes his actual position in relationship with the Lord, he can, along with the discharging of regulative service, think within himself of the Lord under the guidance of a particular associate of the Lord, and develop his transcendental sentiments in following that associate.
So this is all internal meditation. So when he realizes his actual position in relationship with the Lord, so first of all, he has to realize that position at the advanced stage of devotional service. Then along with the discharging of regulative service, this is external, think within himself of the Lord under the guidance of particular associate. That is only internal meditation. Okay, go ahead.
Shravanot-kirtanadini Vaidi Bhakti Uditani tu Yanyangami Tatanyatra Vigyayami Manishibhi. Learned acharyas know that the 64 practices of Vedic Bhakti headed by hearing and chanting are also useful in Raganuga Bhakti.
Right, so the same practices are continued even on the Raganuga platform. Same practices, no difference. All the 64 angas of bhakti are followed even by the Raganuga Bhaktas. Go ahead.
The Raganuga Bhakta does not abandon regular hearing and chanting, but focuses hearing and chanting upon topics that specifically nourishes his serving mood, worshipping the deity. But he does so in a way conducive to his devotional mood.
So he follows all the various angas of bhakti, but he has a specific mood in doing all that. That's all internal, it's not external. The Raganuga Bhakta will never disclose these things to anyone. It's totally his personal, private life. Only the spiritual master may know. That's all. Nobody else. There's no advertisement. It's not that he walks around with a signboard, I'm on Raganuga platform. So externally he does the same angas of bhakti. Only his internal meditation is that particular Ragatmika devotee. Now these are the deviations. Okay, first we'll read from the book. Read the next paragraph in the book. In this connection.
In this connection, we should be careful about the so-called Siddha Pranali. The Siddha Pranali process is followed by a class of men who are not very authorized and who have manufactured their own way of devotional service. They imagine that they have become associate of the Lord simply by thinking of themselves like that. This external behavior is not at all according to the regulative principles. The so-called Siddha Pranali process is followed by the Prakruta Sarjya, a pseudo sect of so-called Vaishnavas. In the opinion of Rupa Goswami, such activities are simply disturbances to the standard way of devotional service.
Yes. So, the Siddha Pranali process is followed by a class of men who are not very authorized, manufacture their own way of devotional service. So these are basically Sahajiyas. Ujjwal Nilambur, your favorite topic we are discussing? Siddha Swarup. So the Sahajiyas, now what is their mistake? Okay, this is their mistake. The first thing that Prabhupada writes, they imagine that they have become associates of the Lord simply by thinking of themselves like. Simply by thinking one becomes an associate of the Lord. Simply by imagining. Anyone can imagine anything. But simply by imagining one can become Gopi or Gopa. Possible? No, it is not possible. You can't imagine. That is the first mistake. Next. The second is proposal that the word Vrajaloka refers only to the residents of Vrindavan and Krishna Leela such as Srila Rupa Manjari and not to the residents of Vrindavan and the Gaur Leela such as Srila Rupa Goswami. So those two words, Seva, Sadhaka Rupena and Siddha Rupena, they think they're one. They say Sadhaka Rupena, Siddha Rupena, both are one. That means internally I'm meditating on Rupa Manjari and externally also I should behave as Rupa Manjari. That's a problem. So the meditation on Rupa Manjari is only internal, it should not be external. Then when it becomes external, then they wear gopi dress and do all funny things. You know that, right? Who was telling this pastime? That peacock pastime. There was one IS or police officer, police inspector or something. He was wearing gopi dress and doing all funny things. Came long back. Of course, finally he lost both professions. The gopi profession also lost and police profession also lost. What he did afterwards, I don't know. Uh-huh. I gave him the mic.
So in Los Angeles, Rukmini Dwarkadish temple, one Mataji
Of
was...
course, they had started Gopi Bhav Club.
So she was continuously crying in front of the deities. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj wrote a letter to Srila Prabhupada asking like, what should we do with her? So Prabhupada said, ask her to leave the place. Because
Of course, when Srila Prabhupada came to know about this Gopi Bhav Club, Srila Prabhupada personally went to address that issue in Los Angeles. And there is that whole conversation with them. And they were justifying by saying, no, Srila Prabhupada, we're reading your books only. Only thing is some specific sections of your books. It is said Srila Prabhupada was so angry, it was rarely seen. But Srila Prabhupada was so angry while speaking to these devotees, his lips were quivering. So this is epitome of anger, of course transcendental anger, but that was how angry Srila Prabhupada was with these people. So Srila Prabhupada gave very strong arguments against this. So one can't do these funny things. And so therefore, this is only internal meditation, it's not meant for external show, doing all these things. I was trying to recollect one other pastime where I read, I'm unable to remember, of or I heard in a class of one of the devotees who went for some program, and there was this person who was wearing a, oh yes, now I'm remembering. His Holiness Jayapatak Maharaj told this, yes, in a Bhagavatam class. So he tells that how he had gone for a political program, I suppose in Bengal. So the governor of Bengal came for that program and all. And there was this person, quite a famous personality. He was, in fact, I think so, the governor had come to attend a program in that person's place. And so he was wearing a sari and he had covered his head, and so Maharaj says he was looking like a lady only, and Maharaj was not very sure, man or lady, he had some doubts, and so he appeared to be quite a prominent person, and then so Maharaj he was a little curious, who's this person, looks a little strange, and so he went a little close and he saw the man has a mustache and is wearing a sari. So, yes, he was speaking about, I think it was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance or disappearance day. He was speaking about these apasampradayas. So, he was talking about one of that person, yes. So, this is their mistake in this understanding of sadhaka rupena and siddha rupena. So, externally sadhaka rupena, internally siddha rupena, not for both. Next. So they wrongly interpret seva sadhaka rupena and siddha rupena chatri to mean that one should imitate the activities of the gopis both as one's external sadhana and as one's internal meditation. No, that's wrong. So these are the surges. And the other thing is, their external behavior is not all according to regulative principles, as Prabhupada is writing. They commit all sinful activities, do all nonsense, and they claim themselves to be advanced devotees. So it's all bogus. Next. Okay, read this.
Devotee. I read somewhere in your writings that in order to understand the confidential affairs of Radha and Krishna, one must serve the gopis who are servants of the gopis. And I assumed that you were a servant of the gopis. Is that correct? Or how do I serve the servants of the gopis? Srila Prabhupada. Gopis, they are not conditioned souls. They are liberated spirits. So first of all, you have to come out from this conditioned life. Then the question of serving gopis will come. Don't be at the present moment very eager to serve gopi. Just try to get out of your conditioned life. Then time will come when you will be able to serve gopi. In this conditional stage, we cannot serve anything.
Time will come. Your Siddha Rupa, time will come.
But Krishna gives us opportunities to accept service in this Archa Marga. Just like we keep the deity of Krishna, offer prasad under regulation, under principle. So we have to advance in this way, chanting, hearing and worshipping in the temple, arati, offering prasad. In this way, as we advance, automatically Krishna will reveal to you and you will understand your position.
You read that? In this way, as we advance, automatically Krishna will reveal. Automatically, Krishna will reveal to you and you will understand your position. It's a matter of revelation, yes, in time.
How you have to? Gopis means who are always constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. So that the eternal relationship will be
revealed.
So we have to wait for that.
We have to wait.
Immediately we cannot imitate serving gopis. That's a good idea that you shall serve gopi, but it will take time. Not immediately. Immediately we have to follow the rules and regulations and routine work.
Prabhupada has made it very clear. Now just follow rules and regulations, routine work. Don't be eager for gopi. That time will come. So therefore, in his arguments with his Gopi Bhav people also, Srila Prabhupada said, you're talking about all this Gopi Leela and all this, but what about Kurukshetra Leela? Why do you make distinction between Kurukshetra Leela and yes, Ras Leela? No, both are saying, first read Kurukshetra Leela, then you'll understand.
Yamuna. The teachings of Lord Chaitanya says, all inhabitants of Brajabhumi, Vrindavan are very dear to Krishna. A devotee in attachment selects one of the inhabitants and follows in the footsteps in order to be successful. Prabhupada. Devotee, devoted to the Vrindavan. Inhabitants. You don't directly think of yourself that I shall see Krishna as my son. Yamuna. No. Prabhupada. That is Mayavad. Yamuna. Yes. Prabhupada. You have to follow the footsteps of Yasodama. Yamuna. Yes. You have told me that before. Prabhupada. Then it will be success.
Yes. So one cannot become Nanda Maharaj or Yashoda. One can only follow in their footsteps. All right. So this is about the process of Raganuga Bhakti and the deviations. What?
Questions.
What?
The previous question. With that demons like Kamsa and Sisupal, when they get delivered by Krishna's killing, so they reach to some, you told, some planets. So just have
Brahmajyoti?
Not
Brahmajyoti.
Brahmajyoti. So after that they again come to here and then again they purified and again go?
So after a long time, that's what Srila Prabhupada explains. That after a long time, they cannot remain in Brahmajyoti also, because there is no service. So after a long time, they have to come down.
Because
no service.
In Kurukshetra Yuddha, there are some people who were close to Krishna. They went directly to Vaikuntha. Some people were little not able to see something there like that.
I don't know. I don't know what you're referring to. But anyway, as far as these demons are concerned, they go to Brahmajyoti.
All demons?
Who have been killed by Krishna, who have been killed by the Lord in his different incarnations. They get purified and therefore they get they're eligible to go to Brahmajyoti. But that's also not an eternal position. Okay, fine. So we'll just finish this chapter, just a little more remaining. Okay, so now he is describing about the Kamanuga. Kamanuga. Kamarupa, Kama Anuga. So this is now conjugal love. Kama Anuga. Raga Anuga Bhakti. Read.
Devotional service following in the footsteps of the gopis of Vrindavan or the queens at Dwarka is called devotional service in conjugal love. This devotional service in conjugal love can be divided into two categories. One is direct conjugal love, the other is one is indirect conjugal love, the other is direct. In both of these categories, one has to follow the particular gopi who is engaged in such service in Golok Vrindavan. To be directly attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in conjugal love is technically called Keli. This Keli performance means to directly join with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are other devotees who do not wish direct contact with the Supreme Person, but who relish the conjugal love affairs of the Lord with the gopis. Such devotees enjoy simply by hearing of the activities of the Lord with the gopis. This development of conjugal love can be possible only with those who are already engaged in following the regulative principles of devotional service, specifically in the worship of Radha and Krishna in the temple. Such devotees gradually develop a spontaneous love for the deity, and by hearing of the Lord's exchange of loving affairs with the gopis, they gradually become attracted to these pastimes. After this spontaneous attraction becomes highly developed, the devotee is placed in either of the above mentioned categories. This development of conjugal love for Krishna is not manifested in women only. The material body has nothing to do with spiritual loving affairs.
Okay, note that point. Material body has nothing to do with spiritual loving affairs.
A woman may develop an attitude for becoming a friend of Krishna, and similarly a man may develop the feature of becoming a gopi in Vrindavan. How a devotee in the form of a woman, in the form of a man, can desire to become a gopi is stated in the Padma Puran as follows. In days gone by, there were many sages in Dandakaranya. Dandakaranya is the name of the forest where Lord Ramchandra lived after being banished by his father for 14 years. At that time, there were many advanced sages who were captivated by the beauty of Lord Ramchandra and who desired to become women in order to embrace the Lord. Later on, these sages appeared in Golok Vrindavan when Krishna advented himself there, and they were born as gopis or girlfriends of Krishna. In this way, they attained the perfection of spiritual life. The story of the sages of Dandakaranya can be explained as follows. When Lord Ramchandra was residing in Dandakaranya, the sages who were engaged in devotional service became attracted by his beauty and immediately thought of the gopis at Vrindavan, who enjoyed conjugal loving affections with Krishna. In this instance, it is clear that the sages of Dandakaranya desired conjugal love in the manner of the gopis, although they were well aware of the Supreme Lord as both Krishna and Lord Ramchandra. They knew that although Ramchandra was an ideal king and could not accept more than one wife, Lord Krishna, being the full-fledged personality of Godhead, could fulfill the desires of all of them in Vrindavan. These sages also concluded that the form of Lord Krishna is more attractive than that of Lord Ramchandra. And so they prayed to become gopis in their future lives to be associated with Krishna. Lord Ramchandra remained silent, and his silence shows that he accepted the prayers of the sages. Thus they were blessed by Lord Ramchandra to have association with Lord Krishna in their future lives. As a result of this benediction, they all took birth as women in the wombs of gopis at Gokul. And as they had desired in their previous lives, they enjoyed the company of Lord Krishna, who was present at the time in Gokul Vrindavan. The perfection of their human form of life was thus achieved by their generating a transcendental sentiment to share conjugal love with Lord Krishna.
Okay, so Prabhupada is explaining all this to explain one Siddhanta. What is that? Yes, the material body has nothing to do with spiritual loving affairs.
Conjugal love is divided into two classifications, namely conjugal love as husband and wife, and
That is called as Swakiya
yeah,
and then Parakiya.
yeah, lover and beloved. One who develops conjugal love for Krishna as a wife is promoted to Dwaraka, where the devotee becomes the queen of the Lord. One who develops conjugal love for Krishna as a lover is promoted to Golok Vrindavan to associate with the gopis and enjoy loving affairs with Krishna there. We should note carefully, however, that this conjugal love for Krishna, either as gopis or as queen, is not limited only to women. Even men can develop such sentiments, as was evidenced by the sages of Dandakaranya. If someone simply desires conjugal love but does not follow in the footsteps of the gopis, he is promoted to association with the Lord at Dwaraka.
Okay, so just complete that then.
In the Mahakurma Puran, it is stated, great sages who were the sons of the fire gods rigidly followed the regulative principles in their desire to have conjugal love for Krishna. As such, in their next lives, they were able to associate with the Lord, the origin of all creation, who is known as Vasudev or Krishna, and all of them got him as their husband.
Right? If someone simply desires conjugal love but does not follow in the footsteps of the gopis, he is promoted to association with the Lord at Dwaraka. So the important point is that if one wants to enter Golok Vrindavan, one has to follow in the footsteps of the residents of Golok Vrindavan in either of the rasas. Then only it is possible to enter into Golok Vrindavan. So this is what we were describing in the morning Bhagavatam class also, that if one wants to enter Golok Vrindavan, get Vraja Prem, then one has to follow in the footsteps of the Brajavasis. That is Raganuga Bhakti. So without Raganuga Bhakti, one cannot get Vraja Prem. So if one simply develops Prem, one will go to Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha also there is Prem. But Golok Vrindavan, one has to follow in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan. Then only one can enter Golok Vrindavan. That is precisely what is Raganuga. Following the Ragatmika devotees in Golok Vrindavan. And as we discussed in the morning, so as far as we are concerned, the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we are directly following the greatest Ragatmika devotee, that is Srimati Radharani. And so because by following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we are following Srimati Radharani, therefore we don't have to practice Raganuga Bhakti separately. Our Vaidhi Bhakti will automatically become Raga Bhakti. That means, see, as we discussed, what is the difference between Vaidhi and Raganuga? It is only a difference in mood. That's what we discussed, right? They also perform all the 64 angas of bhakti. There is no difference. Externally, there is absolutely no difference. It's not that at a certain stage, one will begin Raganuga and then something dramatic will happen, some two arms will come or something like that. Nothing like that is going to happen. It's going to be the same thing. One has to still follow all the 64 angas of bhakti, all rules and regulations, everything remains the same. The only difference is in the mood, that is totally internal. So therefore, it is not that we have to do something else. It's not that there is some special mantra or something like that. No, nothing like that. It's all the same. Hare Krishna is Maha Mantra. There is no greater mantra than that. So therefore, the process remains absolutely the same. And that is what we were discussing. We should have full faith in this fact that we simply have to follow the same process. There's no difference at all. Same process we have to still continue, and then the spontaneous attraction will develop as we get purified. That is how the Vaidhi will automatically change into Raga. There's nothing different that one needs to do. One has to simply follow the process that has been given by Srila Prabhupada in the parampara of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that is the munificent nature of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that simply by the chanting of this Hare Krishna mantra and following the simple process that Srila Prabhupada has given, one is getting direct entrance into Golok Vrindavan, Vraja Prem, that has never ever been given before. Anarpita charim chirat kanavati nakalau samarpitam unnata ujjvala rasa swa bhakti shriyam. This unnata ujjvala rasa is madhurya ras. So even in Vraja Prem, the topmost, Madhurya, that is what Mahaprabhu is awarding simply by chanting of the holy names. That is why Namo Mahavadanyaya. Such a simple process to get the highest. But of course, we already discussed. The main obstacle is offenses. That is what we have to safeguard. Otherwise, process is very simple. We can get the highest with such a simple process. This is the munificent nature of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Namo Mahavadanyaya. And we can actually experience that. You can see hundreds of people coming here. If you go to Mayapur, literally thousands of people every day. So this is all Mahaprabhu's mercy. Because anyone who just enters any of our ISKCON temples, what is happening? His bhakti begins. His bhakti begins. He gets the opportunity to directly enter into Golok Vrindavan. Just by entering our temple and hearing the holy names, he is getting an opportunity to enter into Golok Vrindavan. Of course, how much time it will take, that depends upon him. But the opportunity is being given. And you can see hundreds of people, they're getting the opportunity. This is the, otherwise, where? In Kali Yuga, where is the question? But such highest is being given for something apparently cheap. Not exactly cheap, but easy. So that's a great fortune we have to understand. We don't have to go anywhere else. If we leave ISKCON and go somewhere else, we will simply be the greatest fools. That is all. Okay, and the next part is Sambandha Anuga. Kama Anuga, Sambandha Anuga. And that is parenthood or friendship. So devotees attracted to Krishna as parents or as friends should follow in the footsteps of Nanda Maharaj or Subal respectively. So that is what it, and then Prabhupada is describing no one can become Nanda Maharaj or Yashoda directly. That's Mayavad. And read the last paragraph. There is a statement.
There is a statement in the Narayana Vyuha, Stava prayers that persons who are always engaged in the thinking of the Lord as their husband, friend, father or well-wisher are always worshipable by everyone. This spontaneous love for Krishna can be developed only by the special mercy of Krishna or his pure devotee.
Yes, the spontaneous love for Krishna can be developed only by special mercy of Krishna or his pure devotee. So to come to the advanced stages of devotional service requires mercy. We can do sadhana, that is our part. But sadhana has to attract mercy. And then by mercy, one can achieve the advanced stages.
This process of devotional service is sometimes called Pushti Marg. Pushti means nourishing and Marg means path. Such development of sentiments nourishes devotional service to the highest standard. Thus it is called the path of nourishment or Pushti Marg. The Vallabh Sampradaya, which belongs to the Vishnu Swami sect of Vaishnava religion, worship Krishna in this Pushti Marg. Generally, devotees in Gujarat worship Bala Krishna under the heading of Pushti Marg.
Okay, so this Bala Krishna, Bal Gopal worship, Laddu Gopal, this is not within our sampradaya. This is Vallabh Sampradaya. It is not for us. Prabhupada has never given this to us. Our prayojan is very clear. Our prayojan is Radha Krishna. This is our prayojan. There is no other prayojan for us. That's the highest. So we should stick to that. We should not introduce some deviations and concoctions. So all this Laddu Gopal worship, Prabhupada has never introduced, and we should not encourage it. If somebody, okay, it's going on in the family and things like that, that's okay. But at least it should not be introduced. This is not our prayojan. This is not according to our siddhanta. This is not according to our acharyas. We have to do what our acharyas have taught us. We cannot do what some other sampradaya does. This is not loyalty to our acharyas. This is very important. Is this point clear? So we should not encourage these things. These things are not meant to be encouraged. All right. One question.
Chaitanya Bhagavat, one place comes where Gadadhar Das, one of the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
Nityanand Prabhu.
Nityanand Prabhu, he is worshipping Bal Gopal. So many times devotees quote this, says this is authorized in our sampradaya.
So Who told them to follow Gadadhar Das? Who told them to follow? Prabhupada told? No. Then what is the justification? You can't just say this devotee is doing this devotee is doing this, I'll do it. No, it doesn't work that way. What is the definition of pure devotional service? We have already studied. Anushilanam. Anu means what? To follow. You have to follow your acharya. You cannot just say he is doing this and he is doing that just to justify what I am doing. It doesn't work. We have to follow what our acharya has said. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So we have finished Raganuga Bhakti also.
What's the question?
Okay, anything here? I think so it's finished, right? Okay, this is fine. Okay, we already discussed this. Okay, that's it. All right? Okay, one question we'll take. Okay, what's that?
Prabhuji, should I ask Prabhuji?
Ask quickly.
Prabhuji, here we have two things are mentioned here, Prabhuji. When we were ending the session, you were telling that there is nothing to be separately done because we are already following Chaitanya Prabhu under his instruction. So we are already following Srimati Radharani in one sense. So there is no need of changing in process. It's not like someone does something in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and then changes some process or method when he starts practicing Raganuga Bhakti. We have discussed. But here in the book, Prabhupada mentioned two things. One, he mentioned that this process is not for ordinary people. Ordinary people in the sense, not for people who are conditioned. Once they are purified, things are automatically revealed. That is one statement what Prabhupada says.
Correct.
And second thing is, he says that one has to follow, where you have in the PPT you have mentioned that one has to read and follow. Two things are mentioned. One is it's automatic.
Yes, so one has to follow one specific Ragatmika devotee. That is what is the process. But now we are already following Srimati Radharani.
Okay.
We are already following Srimati Radharani. And in fact, in our Tulsi Puja every day, what do we sing? Moraya Bilash Vilas Kunje. आगे क्या?
नयने हरि.
Then ए निवेदना दरो सखी अनुघात करो. It is Sakhi. So that shows that song is indicating Raganuga Bhakti. So we don't have to do anything separately. We are already following. We are already following Srimati Radharani. No problem. Okay? Relax now.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Bhaji Dandavat.
We'll take tomorrow. It's getting late.
Okay. Yes, Bhaji. Sure.
So tomorrow is almost Loknath Maharaj is giving Bhagavatam class, right? So there's a possibility of class extending, isn't it? So what should we do? Should we start a bit late? No, if buts, it becomes difficult. So usually, yes, there's a possibility. So therefore, I think so to be on the safe side, we'll start at 11. Everyone is okay? 11 to 2?
Yes.
If you finish before 2, well and good. It should not take so much time tomorrow. So that we can finish before also, but we'll see. All right?
Hare Krishna, so then tomorrow at 11 o'clock.
All right for everyone, 11 o'clock tomorrow, 11 to 2. ठीक है? Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.